Hello Miners fans, and welcome to the end of the road trip. Lee Jordan Field is the last of 4 straight games the Miners have played away from Herman Brothers Field, and the last couple of them have gone pretty well, so we're excited for this one. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows here to bring you this game following the thrilling conclusion we saw yesterday in Mulcahy Stadium, and if a game like that doesn't give you momentum, Dylan, I don't know what will.
Oh, it was an absolutely huge momentum swing for Matsu yesterday. One of the most dramatic games we've seen in the ABL this year, and Matsu is hoping to translate that here tonight.
Well, in case you weren't watching the game or you haven't seen the highlights, first of all, what are you doing? Because you need to be following the action, especially when the games get this important toward this part of the season. But in case you haven't seen it or you just want to relive it, we have a highlight reel ready to play right now. Just listen.
It's a wet and wild Wednesday here in the crossroads of the world, Anchorage, Alaska, Mulcahy Stadium, home of the Anchorage Bucks and the visiting team, your Matsu Miners, on to challenge them for the second straight game in their quest for 2 straight wins against the ABL's top squad. With Dylan Simmons, I'm Charlie Fellows, thrilled to bring you this ABL action here today, and the rain may be coming down outside, but we press on.
On base percentage.
0-2, and around he went. Hopeless was that plate appearance. 3 strikes, and Tommy Eisenstadt is the first K victim of Tucker Timmerman.
Yeah, it seems. The 1-2. And a swing and a miss. Kerr strikes out, and that will do it for the top half of the 5th inning. Matsu puts 2 runners aboard on walks, but they cannot cash in the score. And that is going to get behind the catcher Durand onto first. Here's the throw. It's not going to be into Wilcox in time. And safe at first base will be Callahan. And Anchorage getting a much-needed base runner. This is a ground ball right side that goes past the diving Wilcox. Now safe at first and second for the Bucks are Callahan and Eisenstadt with 1 out.
And
all evening long. 0-1. Here's another ground ball right side. Into the glove of Richard. Underhand toss to Wilcox. Got him. Out 2. That will advance runners to second and third for the Bucks, but a heads-up play by Ryan Richard. Great work to pick up that baseball from the turf. Anything else you could have said? 3-2. Come on, Tucker. And that's low for ball 4. Bases juiced for the Bucks. So a chance at a strikeout goes away. Maybe the Miners. The 2-2. Got him! Tucker Timmerman strikes him out. What a huge K to end the 6th inning. Answering the call one more time. How does Smith adjust? 3-1. Here's a ground ball. Richard dives for it, got to it, but everyone is going to be safe. Richard slams the ground in frustration. He tried to get it to Cochran, he did, but he couldn't get it in time to take out Will Burns.
Yeah.
Here's a ground ball left side. 1 out, throw to first is going to be in time. What a double play by Dom Patrizzi to take out 2. One of the biggest double plays of the year for the Miners. They turn the situation on its head once again and leave the Bucks frustrated.
Here's the 1-1. Runner goes. That's lifted into shallow center field. Drake Kerr coming on, and he will make the catch. Done with regulation. 9 innings in the books, but we're going to need a little bit more than that to settle it. On to the 10th we go. And indeed, that will be a 4-pitch walk. Durand, the nice snag to get that ball in his glove, not that it mattered. A leadoff walk for Carlone. That is the 6th overall issued by the Miners. First by Harrahill. And Matsu will have to pitch with a base runner to try. He does try, and he won't get a chance. That time a 5-pitch walk. 2 straight free passes issued by Ryan Harrahill to get men on first and second with none out in the 10th inning. This is by far the best chance the Bucks have had to make some damage happen here, and Steve Hecker is going to come out and talk with his pitcher Harrahill.
See the infield playing up.
Now he's showing a bunt, and he's going to roll one down. Bisaccia will throw to first and get the out, but the sac bunt does what it was designed to do. Carlone to third, Lamb to second.
But you got to get the second out.
2-2. He got him. Swing and a miss on a breaking ball. There have been a lot of great strikeouts so far today, but none bigger than that one right there. Ryan Harrahill on the doorstep of escaping. Has not struck out yet today. The payoff pitch, ball 4. Harrahill thought he had him, but that one was low, and I'm looking to the Miners' dugout to see if anyone is going to come out, and it does not appear as though they will. That's on the ground to second. Fielded, on to first. The Miners escape by the skin of their teeth. It's Dom Patrizi, only fitting he moves to second base, but he does make that final defensive play, and it'll move us to the sudden death 11th.
1-2 count, bunt shown. He lays it down. Here's the throw from Briggs, and he's safe. Kerr is safe. He got there in time, and the Miners' dugout explodes. Runners on first and second. What a play.
So for the record, he wasn't safe, or he didn't beat the throw, but the first baseman Eisenstadt had to jump, and Eisenstadt was absolutely livid at that call. The umpires are going to talk about it, as well as the manager for the Anchorage Bucks. This one is a lot closer, and indeed they will call him out.
They're going to call him out and reverse the call.
Yep.
Chase does have a single in this game. He's also forced to hit by pitch. 0-2. Here is a liner into right that gets down for a base hit. Bisaccia coming around. It rolls all the way to the wall, and the Miners are going to win. They walk it off in Anchorage. Goodbye, Heartbreak City. Hello, Elation Avenue. Matsu has walked off the Bucks and beaten them in back-to-back games in an 11-inning marathon.
This is sudden death, Dylan, but I don't think I've ever felt more alive. What an ending. We've seen walk-offs this season, but none like that. The curse ends for Matsu. They take it 1-0 again over the Anchorage Bucks, but that is a game you're going to be looking back on, not just for the rest of the season. If you're Chase Wilcox, you're going to be looking back on that moment for the rest of your career.
Well, Dylan, that finish, of course, came in sudden death, which the Miners have experienced more than any other team in the ABL this season, but this time went a bit differently than those last two.
Yeah, it was their third time going to sudden death, and this time, like you mentioned, they came out on top. It was a huge second straight win against the Bucks, and this time, like you mentioned, in that sudden death walk-off. The second walk-off win for Matsu this season. They're the only team to get one via the run rule and via sudden death here in 2024, so some crazy stuff there. First time this season a road team wins in sudden death as well. The overall stat had been 0-3 before that, so Matsu kind of breaking the curse, so to speak.
And Matsu, as you may recall, came very close to winning on the road down in Kenai in that first sudden death game we saw, so a little bit of progression to the mean there,
Yes.
and definitely a win they needed. 2 straight against the Bucks, who lose 2 home games in a row for the first time this season. A lot of stats we can throw around from that game, but the only name that you really need to know is Chase Wilcox. You heard it in the highlight reel. He was the man who hit that double, and I got to talk with him before this game to hear what was going through his mind when that ball went off his bat. You'll want to hear it. All right, what's going on, Miners fans? We are here today with the hero from last night's game, the man who hit that double to win it in sudden death extra innings, Chase Wilcox. So happy you could join us today.
Yeah, glad to be here.
So just walk me through what happened in that plate appearance for those of you who might not have watched that game. The 11th inning, the Miners had to score to walk off the game, and he came through with a double to win it 1-0 in that rainy environment down in Mulcahy. What was going through your mind?
Well, it was runner on second, 1 out, so I knew it was had to get a base hit to score him, and outfielders were playing in, so it had to be something in the gap or over their head, and got down to an 0-2 count. You know, I told myself just be calm. We've been in this situation a bunch of times, and threw a pitch in my wheelhouse, hit in the gap, and game over.
How many walk-off hits do you say you have in your entire career?
Oh, not many, not many. Yeah, that was
How does that one
was pretty
stack up?
exciting. It was pretty exciting. I'd probably rank it first if I had
Oh,
any.
okay, wow. All right, history's been made.
Yeah.
Obviously, that was the culmination of a long marathon, very rainy, very dreary, low-scoring defensive battle. What was the mindset like in the clubhouse as the game got into extra innings? How was morale?
I mean, we're all just telling ourselves, you know, 1 run's going to win this game. We just got to find a way to claw and scratch 1 run across the plate. And, you know, our pitchers held the line. Shout out to our bullpen, and we came through in the end.
Why do you think of course, this is the second straight 1-0 game you guys have had over the Bucks. Both of them were wins, but the offense, of course, has been a little bit of a rut lately. What do you think is going to take for you guys to break out and go back to winning games 12-0 like you were?
I think it's just capitalizing on the mistakes that the other team makes. You know, if they make an error, boot a ball, you know, if they're walking guys, we just got to find ways to get those guys across the plate. You know, we have runners on, we can't leave guys stranded on base. We got to find a way to get them home.
Speaking of that 12-0 game that happened against Chugiak-Eagle River, who are playing today, what do you think it's going to take to get your third straight win here today?
You know, I think our pitching staff is going to keep doing what they're doing, and I think it's going to be up to the offense to, you know, support them, give them a nice, comfortable lead, and, you know, win the game.
And last question. Normally when we interview guys, they have some kind of Miners gear on, but I see you've gone with a different wardrobe choice here.
Yeah. I didn't know I'd be doing this interview today, but, you know, I have a couple shirts like this. Yeah, shout out Dr. Dre, Chronic.
Is that the kind of music you like to listen to pump you up before games, that kind of thing?
Always rap in my AirPods before the game, so yeah.
Well, it's whatever you're doing, it seems to be working, so we're looking forward to watching you over the rest of this season. You've been doing great so far.
Thank you.
This has been Chase Wilcox, so happy for you to join us here this morning.
Thank you.
Back to you, too. It's a great chance to talk with him. He's going to be part of the action today for the Mat-Su Miners, as he so often is. He's been absolutely raking, and we're so excited to see him play today, along with the rest of the Mat-Su Miners.
Yeah, he's been maybe the most consistent hitter over the last week and a half for the Miners. He's been so good when it comes to getting on base. That on-base percentage is now at the top of the Miners roster and almost at 400, so he's been absolutely incredible as of late.
And he'll be part of the Mat-Su Miners lineup for today.
Yeah, for the Mat-Su Miners tonight, leading off is going to be Drake Kerr in center field, Chase Wilcox at third base. Kyle McCausland will be in right field tonight. Christian Perez at first base in the cleanup spot. Dom Patrizzi at second base. Brandon Duran the DH. Ryan Cochran the shortstop. Blake Baltz the catcher. Riker Scow is going to be in left field, and Rocco Bernardina gets his turn on the mound tonight.
And we're hoping for a better start from him than the last time out when he gave up that first pitch home run to Cole Carlone. He's been an excellent member of this excellent rotation, and we're excited to see that. On the Chinooks side, a team the Miners haven't seen in a couple weeks. Cade Smith leading off as the designated hitter. Oliver DeGenhardt at short. Jordan Jaffe at third base. He's tops in the ABL and at bats this season. Louis Zuleika, the second baseman. Jaden Hill out in center. Jacob Hayes, the first baseman. We've seen him on the mound against the Miners a couple times. RJ Rickabaugh, the catcher. Sam Kwapniowski in right. Brady Groves, the left fielder. And Frankie Gulko, second in the ABL in ERA among qualified starters. Definitely a capable pitcher and someone the Miners have seen a couple times. They shelled him here at Lee Jordan Field in the season opener, but in that 1-0 loss at Herman Brothers Field, he was the starter, and they had obviously a much harder time against him. We'll see how it goes the third time around. They've had a lot of success here at Lee Jordan Field. They've won a game 12-0 here. They won a game 8-1 here in the starting the first game of the season for Mat-Su, and now they're back above 500 in the closing stages of the season, trying to make a push for a top 2 seed in the ABL, and they can get a big stride toward doing that with a win today. We'll have the action coming your way right after this. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube, and don't go anywhere.
At the base of the Chugach Mountains, the Mat-Su Miners are locked in and ready for another road battle in the ABL against the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. Hello everyone and welcome to Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows joining you this evening as your Miners look for another monumental win on the heels of a victory in what might have been the game of the year in the Alaska Baseball League.
Yeah, Dylan, you talk about it. They're looking for another win here tonight, but it's going to be hard to top what we saw last night in terms of importance for this season, in terms of sheer drama. There are so many storylines that we talked about on the broadcast and the pregame show, and I'm sure over the course of this game we'll be recapping it. We're still delirious from it. It was just an incredible moment for this team and really felt like it could be the start of the tear that they need to get on down the stretch in order to get back into the race for a top seed in the ABL.
Yeah, you talk about momentum swinging wins. That may have just been the one for Mat-Su. As we continue on with the 2024 season, we'll see if that translates into tonight's game. Leading off will be Drake Kerr for Mat-Su, followed by Chase Wilcox and Kyle McCausland. Frankie Golko on the mound for the Chinooks as we get ready for game number 28 in the ABL season. Here we go, Miners Chinooks. That's a swing and a miss by Kerr, and the count goes to 0-1 quickly for the center fielder on the breaking ball by Golko.
Yeah, we might see a few more of those. Frankie Golko, one of the best pitchers in the Alaska Baseball League, 2.29 ERA and 35 1/3 innings pitched. That is by far the most out of anyone in the ABL. He has struck out 25, allowed 28 hits, just 9 earned runs in those innings. And he's appeared against the Miners a couple times with varying results.
0-2 count here. This is going to be just outside the zone. Count goes to 1-2 for Kerr. His first appearance was actually in the first game of the season for Mat-Su back on June 6th. A 5-inning performance. He gave up 4 hits but just 1 earned run. Now trying to keep that going here. That is low for ball 2. Count goes to 2-2.
Drake Kerr was involved with the end of last night's game. And as we'll address later on, he's partially indirectly the reason why the coaching staff.
Swing and a miss here for Kerr. That's going to be a strikeout. So Kerr retired on strikes to lead things off in the top half of the first inning. 1 down for Mat-Su.
Yeah, and as I was saying, is partly indirectly the reason why the coaching staff for this game looks a bit different today. Pitching coach Steve Hecker is the interim head coach for today's game because Drake Kerr tried to lay down a bunt in that frame, and the call on the field was overturned. Tyler Brunn got pretty mad about it, but
Wilcox with a chopper right side that's fouled. Count goes to 0-1.
Yeah, this guy right here is who we should be talking about.
Yes, he was the hero last night, as you saw in our pregame show. Delivered the game-winning RBI double in the sudden death 11th inning to beat the Bucks. Counts 0-1. Here is a liner into center that's going to get down for a base hit. Wilcox on to first with a single here in the top half of the first inning, and he keeps his red-hot momentum going.
Yeah, he's now in sole possession by a lot of the best batting average on the team, 275 coming into today, and that just went up by another tick. He's got 4 doubles, 12 runs batted in, including, of course, the game-winning one last night. He's had a penchant for coming through when it matters the most, and when push comes to shove at the end of this regular season, we might be talking about him as the most valuable Miner.
He very well could reach that mark. He's certainly been that as of late. Kyle McCausland to the plate. That's a fastball high. You saw the interview that Chase had with Charlie on our pregame show, and you could tell he was very excited. He called it the most electrifying walk-off that he'd had in his entire career, his most special moment. Count goes to 1-0, and that covers a lot of ground, I'm sure, for Wilcox, who's been playing for a long time. Of course, has had some great success with Central Missouri, who made the D2 College World Series this year, and yet he calls that one of his favorite memories.
And now we've got a couple guys coming up here with McCausland and Perez on deck who are dying to join him in the hit column.
2-0 count. Pitch by Golko. McCausland lets it come in, and that's ball 3. Good take. Let it go by on the curveball, and now he's got a 3-0 count.
These guys were combined 0 of 8 last night. Or 0 of 7, I should say. Christian Perez did draw a walk, but they were hitless between the two of them, the two big power hitters on this team.
The 3-0 is in the inside part of the zone to make it 3-1. The fastball by Golko that time. Mat-Su is trying to get that offense revved up. They have not scored more than 3 runs in their last 8 total games, but they have scored a lot against Chugiak before. Of course, had that 12-0 run rule win here not that long ago. The 3-1. And that fastball also finds the zone, perfectly down the middle by Gulko. The count runs full at 3-2.
Yeah, Gulko with 11 walks and 25 Ks coming into this game, which is a good ratio, if not incredible, but he knows how to fight back from those counts.
Now a big payoff pitch early, but first a throwback to first. Wilcox able to get back to the bag. Covering it is Jacob Hayes this night. Louisa Like at second, Oliver Dagenhart at short, and Jordan Jaffe, the third baseman. So the payoff pitch on the way to McCausland. And a swing and a miss, struck him out. Second strikeout for Gulko as he takes care of McCausland. That's now 2 down here in the top half of the first inning.
Yeah, and that is strikeout number 17 on the season for McCausland, just 2 back of the team lead. He's had a few of them in the last few games. He just tries to find that incredible groove he was in earlier in the season when he was hitting home runs, doubles, walk-off hits. We know that's still in there, and he'll find it soon.
Cleanup man Christian Perez on, who's going to foul this one off towards left field. Count goes to 0-1, and like you talked about, Charlie, Matsu without their head coach tonight, Ty LeBrun. So Steve Hecker, usually serving as the pitching coach, he's the active head coach tonight for your Matsu Miners. Not the first time he's done it this season either. 0-1 count, and that is in the zone. Count goes to 0-2 as it was just dropped in by Gulko.
As I alluded to before, Perez, another guy who's had a rough go of it lately, down to 239. Still a good average, but he was up around 300 a couple weeks ago.
Now the 0-2 to Perez. Wilcox at first. Gulko the pitch. Perez fouls this one off. It went off of his left leg that time. Able to stay alive, though, in this at-bat. Count's going to be 0-2. Matsu trying to get the early jump on the Chinooks. And whenever they're able to get on top early, it's usually been a good omen for them as far as getting victories this year. So here we go. The 0-2 from Gulko. Already has 2 strikeouts in the first. Wilcox is on his way to second, but the ball is fouled by number 29. Going to keep the count at 0-2. But Wilcox showing no hesitation on the 0-2 count to try to get to second. And you wouldn't expect anything less. Christian Perez coming into this game with a .239 batting average, a .337 on-base percentage. That's number 4 on the team. Third on the team in hits with 21. One of a few players over 20 hits on the season. Here's a swing and a miss by Perez, the third strikeout for Gulko in the top half of the first inning. And Matsu gets a single from Wilcox, but that's it. Score is still 0-0. We'll be right back for the bottom half of the first, and we'll see the Matsu pitching staff starting off with Rocco Bernardino when we come back. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening, live at Lee Jordan Field here at the Loretta French Sports Complex. Score still 0-0, and Rocco Bernardino taking the mound for the first time tonight for Matsu, and he's been a team leader all season, now trying to lead Matsu in this game.
Yeah, a leader and also a pretty good pitcher. 2.70 ERA on the season, which is the highest of the 5 regular starters for the Miners, but don't let that fool you, of course. 2.70 is still an excellent ERA. 20 innings pitched. He's allowed 15 hits, 6 earned runs, struck out 22. And the last time we saw him, that was against the Anchorage Bucks. He allowed that first pitch home run to Cole Carlone, which honestly, not a ton of shame in that. He's probably pound for pound the best hitter in the ABL, but he recovered for a nice start in that game. Miners would go on to lose it 2-0, but he did everything he could, so here's hoping he can get the win this time.
Kent State Golden Flash making his way to the mound. One thing we haven't talked about with him before is that he's had some pretty big moments against some pretty high-octane college baseball teams and delivered in the past. You know, he once played number 4 Texas Tech, went 5 innings pitched, 4 strikeouts, allowed 3 earned runs. So against that caliber of a team, able to limit them to that kind of damage is not too shabby. As Cade Smith makes his way to the plate to lead off for the Chinooks, a curveball by Bernardina finds the mark. Count goes to 0-1.
Yeah, Cade Smith has not been an everyday player for this squad. He's hit 178 on the year.
This is foul directly into the cage. It screams past us. Count's going to go to 0-2, and that was another close call with a baseball as of late.
Yeah, it took an interesting ricochet off of that chain right into the chain in front of us.
Here is a fly ball into right field. Chasing after it is McCausland. In foul ground, he makes the catch, and that will be out number 1. Great pursuit by Kyle McCausland.
You can't quite see it out there on the broadcast, but there is a mound over there. That's where the bullpen is for the Mat-Su Miners. And last time we were here, we saw Kellen Strohmeyer in right field have a few misadventures with that particular piece of terrain. Sometimes he would make a great catch, sometimes he'd flub one, but McCausland is able to conquer it that time.
Oliver Dagenhart to the plate, the shortstop for the Chinooks. Here is a high fastball from Bernardina. Count goes to 1-0.
Dagenhart out of Truman State, St. Louis. 233, 10 runs batted in, does have a home run, one of 3 players on the Chinooks.
This is a liner into right center field. Kerr is racing after it, and he makes the catch as well. Great work by Drake Kerr. Had to cover a lot of ground to get that baseball, but he shows off his speed. Great effect right there.
Yeah, those were a couple of nice plays by the outfielders. You don't always, you kind of take it for granted sometimes. You just run after the ball and put it in your glove. That's the most simple thing an outfielder can do, but picking the right line and committing to it and covering that amount of ground is not easy.
Jordan Jaffe to the plate. Chinooks have made pretty good contact off of these Rocco Bernardina pitches so far, but they have not been able to convert that into a fair ball. 1-0 count, and that is a swing and a miss. Count goes to 1-1. Nice curve by Bernardina that time. Gets himself a strike. Now trying to 1-2-3 the Chinooks to start things off here in the bottom half of the first inning. The 1-1. And that finds the mark. Great work by Rocco Bernardina. Gets it to 1-2.
You know, we talked about how great Chase Wilcox was in that game yesterday, but the real story once again was the pitching. They had their second straight game not allowing an earned run or any run against the best offense in the Alaska Baseball League. They held the Bucks over that 2-game span to, 19 and a half, 20, I guess, 20 frames.
Yes.
Where they were, 19 frames when they were batting without scoring a run.
Fouled off by Jordan Jaffe. That's been the story for Mat-Su lately, has been their pitching staff and their consistency time and time again. It was incredible to see what Tucker Timmerman, Ryan Harahill, and others were able to do yesterday for Mat-Su in that incredible victory. And the defense also played a heck of a game. 2-2 count. Now that's a high fastball inside. Count goes to 3-2.
Yeah, there was great infield defense all around on that one, like you said, but we're going to see in this game today, because we've seen the Miners pitchers struggle against this Chinooks team a couple times.
Payoff pitch, swing and a miss. And Mat-Su's going to 1-2-3 the Chinooks here in the bottom half of the first inning. Rocco Bernardino with an inning-ending strikeout. That'll send us to the top half of the second. Miners and the Chinooks tied at no runs apiece. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. We'll take a quick look now at the Chugiak defensive lineup for tonight. Frankie Golko on the mound, Jacob Hayes at first, Jordan Jaffe at third, Oliver Dagenhart at short, Louis Zalaika at second, Sam Kwapniowski in right field, Jaden Hill at center field, Brady Groves in left field, with R.J. Rickabaugh, as you mentioned, as the catcher. To the plate, Dom Patrizzi for Matsu. As that fastball comes in for a strike, count goes to 0-1 for Frankie Golko.
Patrizzi, I think, is emblematic of how that game went yesterday. With the bat, he didn't do much, had a couple strikeouts, but with the glove, he was absolutely excellent and made a few plays that would wind up being game-changing or game-saving even. Double plays and impressive putouts from third and from second, where he got moved to later on in that game. Miners don't win without it.
I think in terms of infield defense, it may have been his best game of the season. Made so many huge plays defensively. That'll be outside for ball number 1. Count goes to 1-2. Patrizzi, of course, the RBI leader in the ABL with 17 on the season. We've said it a lot, but it's an impressive stat and shows just how dominant he can be, especially in timely situations. That's a high fastball for ball 2.
I'm not sure if you can make it out on the broadcast, but it does appear as though there's a little column of rain potentially heading our way, coming over the mountains. Whatever it is, it should be quick. Won't be like last night.
And that's a swing and a miss for Patrizzi. Frankie Golko already with 4 strikeouts in the early part of this game. He struck out Patrizzi, McCausland, Perez, and Kerr.
Yeah, every out he's gotten so far has been a strikeout. He's allowed just the 1 ball in play, and that a single by Wilcox. Duran, though, someone who is rather fond of this ballpark.
Yeah, he
could
had
change
a
that.
multi-home run performance the last time Matsu was here. He'd love to add to that collection. The only Matsu player with multiple home runs on the season. Count goes to 1-0. That helped win him Player of the Week not too long ago. Facing the 1-0 here. He has struck out more than any Matsu player, but he's very aggressive at the plate, and he rides or dies by that. Count goes to 2-0 here. He struck out a total of 22 times.
Yeah, it looks like we're working with a smaller zone here today as well, which will help the Miners hitters perhaps find their stride.
The 2-0, and that one finds the zone. Count goes to 2-1 towards the top right corner for Golko. Brandon Duran trying to get Matsu their second hit of the game. Chase Wilcox had a single in his first at-bat. Swing and a miss. Count goes to 2-2.
Durand at 118, 2 home runs, as he said, also 2 doubles, 11 runs batted in, and slugging .304, which is tied for the highest on the team, actually with 2 other players.
The 2-2, and that's going to be another swing and a miss. Brandon Duran gets struck out, and 5 strikeouts already for Frankie Golko. And like you talked about, Charlie, every single out the Chinooks have recorded has been a strikeout.
Yeah, and Frankie Golko is all of a sudden, he's up to 30 now in total in the ABL. He came into the day with 25, and 5 outs into the game, he's got 5 more Ks to add to that.
He is absolutely frustrating Matsu early on as Cochran comes to the plate, the shortstop for Matsu, and that's another strike. Count goes to 0-1. Frankie Golko is in his bag early on. The 0-1 on the way to Cochran. And this one is going to be a fastball in for an 0-2 count. My gracious.
Cochran, I mean, the Miners are just kind of, it's a mix of standing there and letting it happen, and then what we saw with Kyle McCausland strikeout, chasing pitches.
And a swing and a miss for Cochran. Now 6 strikeouts for Frankie Golko in the first 2 innings. And this Matsu offense off to a tough start. Chinooks making him pay early. We'll be right back for the bottom half of the second, the return of Rocco Bernardina to the mound for your Matsu Miners. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. back to Chugiak, Alaska at Lee Jordan Field. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call with you as always. And your Miners in a deadlock currently with the Chugiak-ER Chinooks. The score is 0-0. Miners looking to do something they haven't done yet this season, and that's win 3 consecutive road games. They can accomplish that here tonight, but the offense will have to get revved up, and Rocco Bernardina has to continue to keep the Chinooks away from scoring.
Yeah, I think the major concern is, like you said, that offense. They struggled, of course, in both games against the Bucks. They were able to pull those out because of just how incredible the pitching was. And just to put it in perspective how great they were, those same Bucks currently up 3-0 on Peninsula in the bottom of the first in that game, which is also a home game for Anchorage. So they're right back to their old scoring ways after this Matsu pitching staff leaves town.
Louis Zalaika at the plate as Bernardina bounces off that pitch from the turf. Zalaika, the sophomore out of San Jose, California. Gavilan College. Facing a 2-0 count from Bernardina. This is a chopper fouled. Towards the cage it goes. Count goes to 2-1.
Despite all those strikeouts, one thing Bernardina can say that Gulko cannot is that the former has not allowed a base runner.
He has not yet. Remember, Wilcox had that hit in the top half of the first. So far, the Chinooks with no hits overall. 2-1 count. That is low by Bernardina. Tried to fit in a low fastball, and the count goes to 3-1. So Zalaika with 81 at-bats, 22 hits, which is second best on the Chinooks, 5 RBIs, and a .272 average entering this game. 3-1 count. And a swing and a miss. Great fastball by Rocco Bernardina. Going back to that time and time again, and it's working.
Yeah, the high cheese got him to chase there, to use the words of Dennis Eckersley.
Payoff pitch on the way from Bernardina. Taking his time, trying to make sure to scope this out correctly. And now time's going to be called as Zalaika will take a moment. He's adjusting his glasses, it looks like. Just trying to make sure that he can see in the way that he needs to. And, of course, you got to make sure to see when you're up there at the plate.
Yeah, I reckon that's pretty important.
That's a pretty big skill. Got to have that. 3-2. Zalaika with a ground ball to third, picked up by Wilcox, thrown on to first base, and he got it there in time for a 5-3 putout. Nice work by Chase Wilcox, doing it both with the bat and with the glove here.
Yeah, he's been excellent over there at third base. That's probably the place where the Miners have used him the most this season. He has also played at first and been the DH a couple times, but his sure-handed D between him and Patrizzi, I think the Miners and fielding coach Tyler Bassetti have really found a balance for their infielders on who is most comfortable where.
Now it's time for the Arkansas State Red Wolf, Jaden Hill, who lets this pitch go by for ball number 1. Hill playing center field as he usually does out of Frisco, Texas. 6'3", 225. Curveball by Bernardina, just outside the zone for ball 2.
He's 250 on the year, Hill. 5 runs batted in. Has walked 15 times, which is 5 more than anyone else on this team.
He's very good at drawing walks. He's going to pop this one up, and nobody going to be able to make a play on this foul ball. Count goes to 2-1.
He's also struck out 13 times.
His father, Greg Hill, was actually an NFL running back for the Kansas City Chiefs. A little-known fact, perhaps, from some in ABL circles. I'm sure players on the Chinooks, though, very aware of that, and it shows that athletic blood runs through his veins. The 2-2, Bernardina working fast, and he gets the strikeout. Great curveball to finish on Jaden Hill for out number 2.
His second K as well. And that will bring up Jacob Hayes, who the Miners know more as a pitcher, but playing first base as well. We saw that same general blueprint with Cole Carlone and the Bucks last night playing first base. This guy capable at both positions as well.
52 at-bats on the year, 13 hits and 2 RBIs. 250 average entering the game. Fastball by Rocco is just outside for ball 1. Looking for his second consecutive 1-2-3 inning against the Chinooks. Bernardina with a fastball low, and that will be ball number 2. Hayes out of Washington, plays for Azusa Pacific. Stands at 6'5", pretty tall player. Here's a ground ball towards third base. It's going to be fair. Wilcox with a long way to throw to first, And he got that in time. What a play by Chase Wilcox. A dandy here in the bottom half of the second inning. That'll bring us to the top half of the third. The Miners once again 1-2-3 the Chinooks. We'll be right back. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you here this evening. Your Miners tied with the Chugiak Chinooks by a score of 0-2-0. You know, the Miners offense entering this game with a .206 average, which is last in the ABL, but they've also been very effective when it comes to getting on base this season. Their .322 on base percentage is third in the league, so the batting average could be a little bit misleading. However, they have struggled a little bit early on tonight, still trying to get the offense to kickstart here. Blake Bolts to lead off in the top half of the third against Golko. His pitch comes in outside for ball one.
And it could just be a little bit of bias on that stat, but I feel like they've also had a lot of bad luck. They've hit balls right at people. They've had so many balls that have been right on the line and just rolled foul.
And that one finds the zone. Count goes to 1-1 for Bolts. Let it go by that time.
He's behind the dish for the second straight day. Out of UCLA, 156, 5 RBIs.
That goes outside for ball two. Bolts back behind the plate for the Miners. He's been a very effective catcher this year, especially when it comes to throwing out base runners. Could see that tonight. Of course, Rocco Bernardino may prevent that from even taking place. Count goes to 3-1. Bolts with an opportunity here to force a leadoff walk. He has forced 10 of those this season, 10 total walks that is. Not all of them have been leadoffs. 3-1 count, and that's ball four. Great work by Blake Bolts, and there's the signature hand clap as he looks toward the dugout, and that's a good way to start here in the top of the third.
Yeah, with Frankie Golko looking as difficult to figure out as he has so far this game. They're going to take any base runner they can get. Still waiting for that first non-strikeout out, but you know what would be better than that? A ball in play.
So now we will see Riker Scow make his way to the plate. Pitch by Golko is outside for ball one, a little bit low as well.
Scow up there with the best of them as far as drawing walks goes. He also has 10 coming into this game. Just eclipsed a minute ago by Bolts, who's currently at first base.
Matsu's got a lot of players who are very good at forcing walks. Ryan Richard, the best of those, not in the lineup tonight, but whenever he does get in the lineup, you can almost guarantee a walk's going to happen. This is popped up. It's going to land somewhere over our press box. Count goes to 1-1. Riker Scow trying to become the third base runner for Matsu in this game. Frankie Golko already with 6 strikeouts early on, but Matsu is still very much in a spot where the opportunity to win is definitely present for them.
Absolutely. I mean, it's been present pretty much every inning they've played. That's how great the pitching has been.
It's great to have that pitching behind you, and even when you're in an offensive slump, you've got that pitching behind to keep you in the game. Count goes to 1-2 for Scow. Of course, they want to get better on offense. They don't want to stay at their current pace. Chase Wilcox talked about that in the pregame interview about how they're trying to get better, trying to back up their pitching. And tonight could be the start of that. Throw back to first, and Scow, or check it, Baltz, able to get back in time.
Since July 4th, they've played 8 games, and the most runs they've scored in a game during that time is 3. And in those 8 games, they're somehow 4-4, despite failing to score as much as they have.
Scow with a liner into right field. It's just going to be fouled. Lands over the fence. Count goes to 1-2. It's a bit further off from the pole than I thought it was going to be initially. But Scow still sent it pretty far towards the parking lot regardless.
Yeah, he's, so far this season, not the strongest power hitter on the minors, but he's had a couple extra base hits.
The 1-2, and that is just outside the zone for ball 2. Good take by Scow. He's one of the best when it comes to recognizing where pitches are going to land at, and he did a great job of anticipating it that time.
That was a gutsy take from a guy who's got 6 Ks already.
The 2-2. Golko the pitch. Curveball's low for ball 3, and once again, Matsu may have an opportunity at back-to-back walks here in the top half of the 3rd inning.
And the top of the order is coming right up after this with Kerr and Wilcox.
Could be crucial, especially with 2 of your best hitters waiting in the wings. Could be your best opportunity early to get a run on the board and take the early advantage here in Chugiak. They are trying to see if they can do something with Blake Baltz. Thus far have not been able to. The 3-2. And that fastball is just above the zone for ball 4. Scow's on to first. Back-to-back walks forced by the Matsu Miners, and they are the first team of the day to have multiple runners on base.
Yeah, those were a couple of great plate appearances there by Baltz and Scow. Exactly what you need against a guy who's dealing like this. Force him to throw a lot of pitches, get his confidence a little bit lower, and now some of the best, most capable, clutchest hitters on the team coming up to only compound that.
Drake Kerr to the plate, and like a lot of batters, he struck out his first time up.
And Dylan, I wonder what he's going to do here.
I think we may have an idea, especially with no outs. There may be a signature move about to be pulled. There's the bunt. He lays it down, and it's going to be fair. A perfect bunt. Throw on to first is going to be in time. They somehow got it to Hayes, but it does advance the 2 runners from Matsu to 2nd and 3rd. Scow on to 2nd. Baltz on to 3rd. I thought for sure that Kerr was going to be able to make it on to first, but a solid recovery by R.J. Rickaball to get it to Jacob Hayes.
Yeah, I thought that too. That was actually a really excellent play there by the first baseman Hayes to keep his foot on that bag. I think 9 times out of 10, Kerr legs that out and you have bases loaded, nobody out. I definitely thought that was what was going to happen. It's a perfect bunt. Anyone who knows Drake Kerr, who has watched the minors this season, knows that that's what he was going to do right there, and still they almost were not able to deal with it. That's how powerful he is.
Best bunter in the ABL strikes again. Here's a liner into right field by Wilcox, and keep the hot streak going. 1 run's going to score. Scow stays at 3rd, and Matsu takes the early lead. Chase Wilcox is in fuego for Matsu, 1-0.
He is hot as a blowtorch right now. We have not seen anything like this so far this season. We've seen players, of course, like Brandon Durant hitting 2 home runs in a game, Kyle McCausland getting extra base hits in 4 straight games. Like, there have been hot streaks, but none that have been quite as impactful in terms of runs on the scoreboard, clutch moments like that. It feels like every time they need him, there he is, and he always delivers.
Chase Wilcox changing the landscape like a Caterpillar truck. And now Matsu with the 1-0 advantage. He's already got 2 hits in this game in his first 2 at-bats. What a start for Chase Wilcox, just continuing his hot streak. I think in this back half of the season, he may end up being the most productive offensive player that the ABL has to offer, and that's against a lot of great names, but with how consistent he's been, it's been a spectacle to witness. Baltz scoring for Matsu on that RBI single, and like we said, Scow stopped at 3rd. It was kind of a wonder that Scow wasn't able to come in as well. Kwapniowski in right field able to get his glove hand on the baseball and make sure that Scow couldn't go any further. As we'll see Kyle McCausland coming on for the Miners. And they are right where they want to be now in the top half of the 3rd. It was a bit of a rough start with all those strikeouts, but feels like the tide is certainly starting to turn. So now McCausland, who also struck out in his first at-bat, trying to get some redemption right here.
And we'll be saying that a lot these next few batters. He was the first of 5 straight Ks that Golko got across the first and second, rather. You know, as fun as last night was, it does feel nice to get that first run before the 11th and final inning, doesn't it?
It definitely feels very good to not have to wait on that run. Chase Wilcox not into patience, as that one is going to be just away from the zone for a 1-1 count.
Yeah, check to swing there to McCausland.
93 at-bats on the season entering this game, 22 hits, 11 RBIs, most extra base hits on the team still with 7, and he's second on the team in total hits with 22. Now the 1-1 on the way from Golko, and remember, Scal was at third, swing and a miss. And the count will be 1 ball, 2 strikes, and also Wilcox at first. Runners in the corners for Matsu. McCausland can get a deep shot into the outfield. Could present a prime opportunity to score a couple. We know McCausland is very capable of that. Golko taking his time. McCausland will pop one up. It's going to be fouled. It'll land somewhere in the concourse area. Count will stay at 1-2.
And I don't know if you've been picking this up on the sound, but staple of Chugiak is the annoying sounds that people make. There's a clown horn. We heard that trombone a couple times. The Matsu Miners players certainly do not like that.
Trying to make life hard on the Miners. That's a high pitch. McCausland actually had to duck to make sure it didn't make contact with his helmet. Count goes to 2-2.
So Golko starting to unravel a bit here with those 2 leadoff walks and then allowing that first pitch single by Wilcox.
Yeah, after all those strikeouts, it seems as though he's lost a little bit of touch with his command. Trying to shore that up. 2-2, and that one is going to be outside the zone once more, ball 3.
And I will say this, that outside corner has been consistently called a ball all night, so both sides are going to have to adapt to that. The Miners have done a better job of that so far, and they've got 2 walks in this inning and a run already to show for it.
Yeah, the zone has been pretty stable. That can both help and hurt pitchers depending on the circumstance. The payoff pitch. High, that's going to be ball 4. McCausland on to first base, and the Miners have the bases juiced. That's the 3rd walk issued by Golko in this inning alone.
Yep, and they had a mound conference before that at bat. McCausland was up. No one is active right now in the Chinooks bullpen. They trust Golko to ride this one out, and on paper that makes sense. He has been very capable for this team, the most innings of anyone in the entire league, but the Miners have him on the ropes here. Christian Perez has a chance to do a real bit of damage.
As Perez is going to, I believe, swing and miss at that one. Count goes to 0-1. It bounced off the catcher Rickabaugh in an odd manner. Didn't hear any contact, so either way it's an 0-1 count. Perez, the future Sacramento State Hornet. He's also played at Grand Canyon and New Mexico State. Has plenty of ties in the Western U.S. when it comes to baseball. That is high and outside for ball 1.
Also a graduate of Sunny Slope High School in the Phoenix area, which is the school where head coach Tyler Brunn coaches.
That it is. Tyler Brunn, an assistant coach at Sunny Slope High School, doing a very solid job with them, as he does with the Miners. Not here tonight, but if he's in the chat, we're happy to welcome you, Coach. 1-1. This is a chopper right side that's fouled by Perez. Count will go to 1-2. Matsu entering this game with a 14-13 record overall. We'll give a more detailed standings breakdown after the top half of the 3rd comes to a close, so make sure you stay tuned for that. No commercial break between the top and bottom of the 3rd inning.
Commercial break, we say. It's a calming music break.
Calming music break.
That
All
should be
those
more
great
common, I think.
visuals. The beautiful Alaskan landscape. Looks like a nature documentary. 1-2 count. And another foul ball by Perez. He's doing a good job of keeping this at-bat alive. Trying to make life hard on Frankie Golko. Maybe goad him into a mistake.
And we were not the people that took that video. Those were the predecessors in our seats, Jesse Cook and Austin Barrick, who got all of that video, had better cameras than we do. And we are very grateful for that.
Here's the 1-2 from Golko. It's a curveball that's in for a strike. Perez caught looking, and that's out number 2 here in the top half of the 3rd. Perez kind of shaking his head in frustration.
Yeah, that's an unfortunate one. I was alluding to it a bit earlier on, but Christian Perez has had a rough go of it since July 8th. He is now 0 for 17 and 4 strikeouts. Actually, check it, 5 now with that latest one in that span. So trying to bring his bat back to life, wasn't able to there.
7 strikeouts for Golko now in this game. Here is a fly ball that's fouled. Count goes to 0-1. It'll scream its way towards the parking lot. Dom Patrizzi back to the plate. He had his first at-bat in the second inning. Probably didn't expect to get back to the plate in the third, but here we are. His Matsu compatriots have certainly been feeling it. Now an 0-1 count with 2 away. Patrizzi trying to really change this game. That is low, almost in the turf. Count goes to 1-1. Rickabaugh able to keep it in his glove, however.
Update from Mulcahy. The Oilers are on the board. That game now 3-1. Still in the early goings. That is a very important one for Matsu, which we will get to in a minute.
And we'll talk about that when the standings breakdown comes up. 1-1 count. Matsu hoping that breakdown doesn't happen too soon. Keep this top of the third going. Fastball's in for a strike. Count goes to 1-2, and Golko maybe starting to get his rhythm back just a little bit.
Yeah, this is a big pitch coming up here. You do not want to leave the bases loaded, especially with how much of an issue this team has had stringing runs together.
Yeah, Chase Wilcox talked about it in the pregame, but the runners left on base has been one of the biggest issues Matsu has had. Perhaps a opportunity to amend that right here. That is low. Count goes to 2-2, well outside from Golko that time.
And Rickabaugh just saved at least one run with that stop.
It was heading right towards us, and Rickabaugh able to get his glove hand on it. Now the count evens. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Rain has moved out of the area as far as we can tell. That is good news to everyone. I think Matsu had enough rain after last night. The 2-2. Patrizzi swings and misses, and Matsu will leave the bases juiced with no runs scored. They do take the lead here in the top of the third, though. Chase Wilcox with an RBI single. He's now 2 for 2 on the day, but still a tough ending to the top half of the third. Matsu will try to get some redemption soon, but we're not going to head to break. Instead, we're going to take a look at the standings in this breakdown. Let's see what's going on across the Alaska Baseball League, Charlie.
Yep, the Anchorage Bucks and Peninsula Oilers, the top 2 teams in the ABL, they are taking each other on in Mulcahy, as we've mentioned a couple times. The Bucks sit at 17-9, of course, losers of 2 straight, while the Oilers have been off for a while, coming off winning 4 of the 4 games they played at home against Chugiak. They're at 16-11, a game and a half back. Matsu has moved themselves to just 3.5 back of the lead and 2 back of Peninsula, that 14-13 record they're hoping to improve with a win today. The Anchorage Glacier Pilots are off today, as they have been for the last 5 days. They've gotten unlucky with rain and had a 3-day off stretch scheduled as well. So when all is said and done, it'll be 6 games without the Pilots having played. They're 11-16 and 6.5 off the pace, while the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks in last place in the ABL, 8-17. As we mentioned, they went down to Kenai, and as is the custom this year in the ABL, got a little roughed up, losing the 4 games that they played, with a 5th set to be played later. They got rained out. They are 8.5 back. But, Dylan, I want to talk about that game that's happening, because the Bucks and the Oilers are taking each other on. And while first place in the ABL is not on the line, it's definitely going to be closer to it if the Oilers are able to get that win. So who should Matsu Miners fans be rooting for in that game?
Well, and you talked to me about this earlier on in the pregame. It was who was going to be the team that Matsu would rather have win. I think that both of us agreed that in the immediate aftermath, we'd like Peninsula to win this game, because then Matsu has a better opportunity to take second seed in the ABL and get that home playoff series in the semifinals. But conversely, if the Bucks were to lose and then Matsu is to go on a torrid hot streak to end the year against Anchorage, then all of a sudden you may have a discussion about the 1 seed. So it's kind of 2 sides of the coin, but I think both of us in the immediate future would like Peninsula to win tonight.
Yeah, I agree with that.
As this is a liner into center field, that's going to be a base hit for R.J. Rickabaugh to lead things off in the bottom half of the third inning, and the Chinooks have their first base runner of the game.
Yep, that ends the perfection bid after 2 solid innings for Rocco, but he's definitely still going to keep going strong. As I was saying, though, I think I agree with that, simply because the Miners still have 5 games left, I believe, against the Anchorage Bucks. Or would it be 4? I think 4 left against the Anchorage Bucks, but only 1 left against the Oilers, and they need that season series badly against both teams, but especially against Peninsula, because you saw what happened when the Miners...
As this one gets away from the catcher, Blake Bolts, bounced off of his padding. On to second now is Rickabaugh. So that's going to be the first runner in scoring position now for Chugiak.
Yeah, uncharacteristic mistake there by Baltz, but anyway, just to tie up that point, I think the Oilers are who the Miners need to be worried about simply because they don't really control their own destiny with them. If they just win all their games against the Bucks, they're in good position to be the 1 seed or at least ahead of them, wherever that seed would put them. But the Oilers have that 2-game lead over Matsu right now, and all but one of the games to be played between those two teams are in the books. So they need some help, and right now the Bucks are providing that.
Swing and a miss by Kwapnoski, the sophomore out of Columbus, Nebraska. Fouls this one off. Count will stay at 0-2. Plays for North Iowa Area Community College, who has a pretty big presence as well in the Northwoods League. Actually got to call one of their players last year with the Badlands Big Sticks. The 0-2. Curveball is lifted towards left. Racing after it is Riker Scow, and he makes the catch on the left field line. Great work by Riker to bring that in.
Yeah, he completes the trifecta of nice outfield catches in the early part of this game. Just a reminder of how capable the fielders are all over the diamond for Matsu.
Yeah, that one was pretty far along towards left field. Scow had to really race after it. And we're seeing the speed of all three outfielders like you talked about. Kerr, Scow, and McCausland now on this game with some dandy plays. Now Brady Groves comes to the plate, the 9-hole hitter. Still on second, though, is Rickabaugh. Fastball by Bernardina finds the zone. Count goes to 0-1.
That was also a stroke of luck there because Kwapnoski hit that to the opposite field. If he had hit that to right field, it might have given Rickabaugh a chance to advance, but he'll have to stay where he is for now.
And another nice strike by Bernardina. Breaking ball this time, and he put it in perfectly. He's got a chance to strike out Groves and get his 3rd K.
Yeah, that was a great spot.
The 0-2, and he's going to look back to second. Going to keep Rickabaugh honest. No lying on the base paths. Bernardina taking his time. The 0-2. Fastball is just away from the zone for ball 1. That was very close.
Was very close, but probably just a little bit outside.
Game of inches coming into effect once again. And almost the same exact pitch from Bernardina. And once again, it's outside for ball 2.
Yep, he'll have to try something different here.
So Groves has forced the 2-2 count. Bernardina trying to get out number 2 in the bottom half of the 3rd. And he got that strikeout. What a great job on a breaking ball low. And Groves caught nothing but air.
So that'll complete his first trip through the order. He allows just the 1 base runner so far. That's Rickabaugh there at second base, and 3 strikeouts. Not a bad turn. And, you know, even though Gulko on the other side is racking up those Ks, he's also allowed to run. So I would much rather be in Rocco's shoes right now.
Cade Smith to the plate, who flew out to right his first time up. Count will be 1-0 here. And you talked about it earlier, he's not used a whole lot in the order, although still has some considerable usage this season. 45 at-bats entering the game, 8 total hits. 1-0 count, that is in the turf. Balt's able to keep it in front of him, and that'll bring it to a 2-0 count.
Smith led off this game by flying out to right. One of 3 flyouts that Bernardina has coaxed so far today.
Smith is going to be playing for the University of Arkansas soon enough. Count will be 3-0. Smith played for Harding Academy this past year.
And one of a few rising freshmen in the ABL. The Miners don't have any of them, but they are around.
They are around, and that's ball 4. 4-pitch walk by Rocco Bernardina. A bit uncharacteristic here in the 3rd inning, and now all of a sudden the Chinooks have 2 runners on base. We'll see if they can cash in as Oliver Dagenhart makes his way to the plate.
Yeah, that was the first walk that Bernardina had issued. Coming into today, he'd only issued 5, which was second fewest among starters on the team, behind only Jack Hostetler, who has somehow issued just 3 walks in 26 innings pitched. Just one of the many stats you can throw out about that guy, but Rocco no slouch in his own right, and he'll definitely be well equipped to get out of this jam.
Chugiak entering tonight with a .216 team average. That's 3rd in the Alaska Baseball League. That's going to get away from Baltz. It goes all the way towards the Chinooks dugout. And now Chugiak with runners on 2nd and 3rd. A couple of missed opportunities for Matsu. A couple of pass balls here early.
Yeah, the second pass ball of the inning for Baltz. I was actually thinking about this before the game. You know, we had some issues early on in the season with catchers being unable to keep their mitts on the balls. But the last couple games, it has been a lot better. We hadn't seen one of those in a while. Baltz is having a little bit of trouble receiving Rocco's pitches here.
Yeah, Rickabaw's gone from first to third just by virtue of passed balls by the Miners. So Matsu's going to have to make sure to corral that in a hurry. One more, and Chugiak can tie this game. 1-0 count, fastball's in, count goes to 1-1, and Rocco answering the call early against Degenhart.
The Miners left 8 runners in scoring position last night. The Anchorage Bucks had many chances, but the pitchers held firm, and this would be a perfect chance to keep that trend alive.
The 1-1. This is a foul ball over the Miners' dugout. Count will be 1-2. Going back to that stat we talked about with Chugiak, the .216 team average, 67 RBIs and 31 extra base hits, but in terms of team ERA, they're worse than the ABL right now, 4.33. And another foul ball by Degenhart. That's been their Achilles heel for the most part, has been their pitching. Matsu obviously has kind of got the reverse problem. The offense has not been up to their usual standard as of late, but the pitching has been absolutely superb. Tale of two teams, 1-2 count. Here's a chopper left side, picked up by the shortstop, thrown on to first by Cochran, and safe at first base. A run's going to score. Rickabaugh comes home, and Oliver Degenhart delivers with 2 outs. The game now tied.
Yeah, that was unfortunate. That was a really slow bounding ball that Ryan Cochran had a lot of time before he got it in his glove, kind of double clutched it, and it was just barely late. A matter of inches, and that unfortunately will score that run.
Yep, so Degenhart is going to be awarded with an RBI single, at least for right now. Don't think there were any reason to, or there was any reason rather to call that an error. So Degenhart able to drive in Rickabaugh.
The only question I would have is, since he was only on third in the first place because of a couple passed balls, I don't know if that would be an earned run. I think it still would be.
Count goes to 1-0. I believe, yes, it should still be an earned run. No matter what, it's tied the game, and now Matsu's got to really clamp down. 1-0 count. Goes to ball 2 here, and like you mentioned, that was such a slow roller that Cochran could not get to it really in time to do anything with Oliver Degenhart, who now sits at first base. At third is Cade Smith. This is a foul ball by Jordan Jaffe, bringing the count to 2-1.
And Jaffe is definitely a dangerous guy to have up in a position like this. He, this season, has 7 doubles, 2 triples, and 2 home runs, 11 extra base hits. That's number 1 in the ABL. Not to be trifled with.
2-1 by Bernardina. Here comes Degenhart to second. The throw is not going to be in time, and Degenhart will steal second base. Now 2 runners in scoring position for Chugiak.
Yeah, nice play there by Patrizzi, leaping up and reaching behind him to get that tag on, but it was for naught. Still, Rocco can get out of this because that was strike 2.
So now a 2-2 count. Opportunity is knocking for Rocco Bernardina and the Miners. And that pitch is low for ball 3. Just couldn't fit it in the zone. Bringing the count full for Jordan Jaffe. And a payoff pitch on the way. Bernardina does have 3 strikeouts in this game. Struck out Brady Groves earlier on in this inning. A massive payoff. Here's a liner into center. That gets down for a base hit, and the Chinooks are going to take the lead. Coming home and scoring will be 2 runs, and that's going to be a 2-run single for Jordan Jaffe that has given Chugiak a 3-1 advantage.
Yeah, I talked about how dangerous he is. When you put him at the plate with runners in scoring position, he is going to be deadly, and that will be a couple more runs on Rocco Bernardina's record. He is laboring here. All this damage has come with 2 outs. They're almost certainly going to get him through this inning, but definitely not an ideal turn of events with pitching coach Steve Hecker, also the head coach today.
And now he's making his way out of the dugout.
Yeah, going to talk with Bernardina. I don't think he's going to remove him from the game, but
there's not really any action in the Matsu bullpen right now, or I should say the Matsu mound here at Chugiak.
Yep.
So we will see if anybody starts getting warmed up.
Will be getting warmed.
We'll see if any arms get loose momentarily. But right now, this is just a let's get this thing under control conversation from acting head coach Steve Hecker. Obviously, Ty LeBron not here tonight after getting thrown out late in the proceedings of that 11-inning thriller against the Anchorage Bucks.
The Miners are 1-0 in the only other game they've played this season without head coach Ty LeBron, and of course they rallied to win last night after he was tossed. So overall, in games where LeBron has not been there from start to finish so far this season, they're 2-1.
Louis Zalaika to the plate. One thing that Matsu wanted to make sure to avoid was, after giving it everything they had last night, you wanted to avoid a letdown tonight against Chugiak, an opponent who, on paper, would not be at the same level as the Bucks. But they have certainly shown a fire tonight. Matsu has been caught off guard, a little bit blindsided here in the bottom half of the third inning. But there's still a lot of baseball left to be played and a lot of opportunities to take this thing back. Here's a liner into right that goes over the head of Don Patrizzi. And another single now for the Chinooks. This time it's Louis Zalaika, runners on first and second for Chugiak.
3 straight singles now allowed, all of them with 2 outs by Rocco Bernardina. 4 overall in this inning. He came into the third not even having allowed a base runner, but now he's allowed 3 hits and has got one more guy in scoring position.
Yeah, things started off so well for Rocco Bernardina, but the wheels have been loosened a little bit here in this bottom half of the third inning. Now Jaden Hill to the plate. He struck out looking in his first at-bat in the second inning. Bernardino with a curveball, and that is going to get past Blake Baltz, and the home plate umpire actually got contacted a little bit. Looks like he's okay.
And I think that might have distracted him from the fact that that was right down the middle, and he called it a ball. I'm thinking he might have just missed that because I can't really explain that any other way.
Yeah, it may have been obstructed on his view, and
yeah, he gets a laugh from the crowd there, but I don't think anyone has noticed.
that is an 0-1
Okay,
count.
yeah,
he
all
called
right.
it
He
a
just
strike,
just didn't make the symbol. Okay, I was gonna say.
So the 0-1 count now for Jaden Hill. I was about to say it looked like a 0-1 count to me, and looked like that was a strike. And the home plate umpire was able to see it, so all is good. And that's definitely a strike. Swing and a miss on that low pitch by Bernardina, bringing the count to 0-2, and Rocco with a chance to end the third with an inning-ending K.
Yeah, with how the Miners had a lot of base runners in that last inning, again, leaving the bases loaded really hurts after a frame like this. Not that Bernardina is at fault for that.
0-2 count. Here's a fly ball into left center field. Kerr is ranging. He's got it, makes the catch, and that is out number 3. But Matsu gives up 3 runs to the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. 3 back-to-back singles doing some immense damage, and Jordan Jaffe with a highlight, a 2-run single that has given the Chinooks a 3-1 lead, but don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Matsu will look to take a bite out of this lead, and Charlie Fellows will take you through the middle 4. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
To the 4th inning at Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. The Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks up 3-1 on your Matsu Miners in the early stages of this game, but there is still a lot of baseball left to play, and this park has been particularly kind to the Miners this season as far as scoring runs, so there is a lot of action still to come here today. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call. It'll be Brandon Durand, Ryan Cochran, Blake Baltz. The trio due up against Frankie Gulko on for his 4th inning of work. Was nearly flawless through the first 2, but got in a bit of trouble in the third, allowed a run on that Chase Wilcox RBI single, and then left the bases loaded. Now he deals ball 1 to Brandon Durand, but finds the zone shortly thereafter.
Yeah, Duran so far struck out swinging in his first at-bat, coming back in the second inning. Matsu able to put 1 run on the board in the top half of the third, but then the Chinooks with that 3-run response.
Another big cut comes up empty for the designated hitter with a pair of home runs. The last time the Miners played in this ballpark. 1-2, just got a piece of that. With Ryan Cochran on deck, he and Cochran were the last 2 of 5 straight strikeout victims by Gulko. He added 2 more on in that last inning to strike out the side nearly with the bases loaded. Now another big 1-2.
If you remember back to that last game that Matsu had against Chugiak, they fell behind by a lot early. If I'm not mistaken, it was either 9-2 or 9-4 after the second inning. They were able to chip away, and although they couldn't come back to win that game.
2-2 off the end of the bat by Duran, dropping down and into the glove of the center fielder, Jaden Hill. A nice sliding play there to rob Brandon Duran of a hit, and I feel like we've said that so many times these last couple days. He's made great contact, but the fielders on the other side have just taken those bases away.
Yeah, that was a very unfortuitous landing on that baseball, and Jaden Hill able to range over and make the catch. Had to slide after it, so it definitely had the opportunity, and against a less speedy outfielder, it may have been a single or maybe even a double if things had gone a certain way.
1 down for Ryan Cochran, who skies 1 foul off to the right side. The shortstop from Lehigh, sharing the middle infield with his collegiate teammate Dom Patrizzi, who batted back in the third. Cochran, as I mentioned, did strike out in that inning. That is a ball. So Gulko, he's thrown his share of pitches outside the strike zone. Of course, he started that third inning with 2 walks, added a third later, and that did result in a run coming around to score, but those Ks have just gotten racked up more and more. This is on the ground to third off the bat of Cochran. Jaffe throwing across, and that'll be a nice textbook play by the Chinooks for out number 2.
Yeah, 5-3 put out that time. Jaffe and Hayes linking up, and like you talked about, Frankie Gulko has been ultra dominant in parts of the night. 8 total strikeouts against the Miners. He had 6 against the first 7 batters that he faced. He's cooled off a little bit since then, but the important thing right now is that his defense is backing him up and holding the Miners at bay.
Well, Blake Baltz is going to bat now with 2 away, and he was the start of that third inning rally, drawing that leadoff walk, would later come around to score, and the Miners would love him to get a rally going here with that clown horn still going. And I dare say that thing is funny when used in moderation, but when you use it after every single pitch, I think that does border a little bit on unsportsmanlike.
You gonna go say something to him, Charlie?
No, but I want that. I want my opinion to be known that I think they're getting a little carried away with it. And if I was a player, I would say something to him. 1-1 ripped into right field by Baltz, falling down, and that's going to be fair for a base hit. Baltz is going to have to settle with a single as that landed on the right side. If he had gone the opposite way, could have been extra bases, but he will take it. Once again, trying his best to galvanize this Matsu offense. Clapping as he often does. He's got his first hit tonight on for the second time. The Miners have life with 2 away.
Yeah, he got a great handle on that baseball off the bat. It was low and in on the pitch by Gulko, and Baltz recognized it immediately, able to swing it deep into right field for a second. Looked like it was going to have some considerable distance, and it thankfully got down near that right field line. Could have been extra bases like you talked about. Wasn't meant to be, but still a very nice 2-out single.
Riker Scow would take strike 1. He also walked, courtesy of Frankie Gulko in that third. That was one of the hardest balls I think we've seen hit all season by a member of the Matsu Miners. Even some of those home runs didn't come off the bat that quick. And luckily it landed fair that time. 0-1, just outside. Good take by Scow.
One of the best when it comes to these spots and understanding really more than anybody else how to generate walks for this Miners team. Trying to do that once again, and if he could get himself on base, all of a sudden Matsu is in position with the top of the lineup coming up.
Cochran thought about going and said this is a high fly ball into right field, and looks like it will be catchable, and it will be caught by Sam Kwapnowski to end the threat. Blake Baltz gets another single, but nothing comes of it, and the Miners still down by 2 as we head to the bottom of the 4th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball here on YouTube. bottom 4 in Chugiak. Just had a foul ball go into our camera, so we're going to have to move that field of vision a little bit, but we got it fixed now. This will be the top of the order, or excuse me, it will be the mid part of the order for the Chinooks. Jacob Hayes, RJ Rickabaugh, Sam Kwapnowski up against Rocco Bernardina, who is going to come back out here for the 4th after a very, shall we say, eventful frame an inning ago, where he allowed 3 runs in that 2-out rally, a number of base hits, trying to get a cleaner frame and put his team in a better position to win this game. Ball 1 comes in just outside to Jacob Hayes, who grounded out to third the last time on an excellent play by Chase Wilcox.
Yeah, they're sticking with Bernardina. Head coach Steve Hecker, or acting head coach Steve Hecker, as I should clarify, is making sure to keep his faith in Rocco, and I like that he's giving his guy more of an opportunity and kind of seeing that third inning is a bit more of an aberration.
1-1 mile-high pop into left field. Looks like it'll stay in the yard. Scow trotting forward, and it's in his glove. The way he was standing still for a second, I thought he might be watching it sail over his head, but he focused on the ball as it came down and made the grab one away.
We've seen a few of those hard-hit balls as of late from both sides. We saw a couple of deep swings from Matsu off the bats of Blake Baltz and Riker Scow, and now a leadoff fly out from Jacob Hayes that went really far into left field. Almost feels like we're on the verge of potentially seeing one leave the yard. Matsu's going to have to be ready for that.
Comebacker to Bernardina. He will underhand toss to Perez. A low throw, but gets it in his glove, does the first baseman for a 1-pitch out. A nifty play by the two of them.
Yeah, that was a very low throw by Bernardina, but he got it to first in time and did a good job of recognizing where that baseball was coming in. You got to have a certain amount of speed, even as a pitcher, when it comes to getting those types of outs, and Bernardina was certainly ready for that. Able to get that second out, and that is very important to start things off in this 4th inning.
And especially against Rickabaugh, who drew that leadoff single, later came around to score in the last inning. Good for Rocco to see him go down. That ball just finds the bottom corner of the strike zone to Sam Kwapnowski, who flied out to left back in that inning. Bernardina trying to at least go 4 here. No serious activity in the Miners bullpen over there that we can see. No one actually up and throwing, although there are few people down there. That's another nice looping curve. He's gotten both his strikes in this at-bat with that pitch.
Yeah, and looks like Steve Hecker's confidence is being rewarded right now. Rocco has kind of gotten back into that zone a little bit, and he's putting baseballs in the zone as well more often.
For the 1-2-3, good night in a bit potentially, and
Blake's
a different kind of good night.
Yeah.
Almost.
Looks like he's okay.
Looks like he's okay. If that had hit him where it looked like it hit him at first, he would be on the ground. So it looks like it got him just in the inner part of the leg. Coach Hecker out to make sure everything's okay with his catcher.
Looks like he was all right. He was kind of gripping the lower part of his stomach or maybe his leg, like you mentioned. Something was definitely in pain there, but it looks like he's going to stay in, and that's good to see.
Absolutely. He's, as he said, really, this battery, Bernardina and Baltz, two of the more vocal leaders of this team. And the former with a 1-2 strikes him out. He got him. Down on strikes goes Kwapnowski. K number 4 in the books for Rocco, and he responds with a nice clean 1-2-3 frame. Perhaps exactly what the Miners bats need to see if they want to rally and get back into this game. 5th inning on the way. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. on to the 5th at Lee Jordan Field. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call with your Matsu Miners trying to get back in this game. Trailing by 2 runs, definitely a deficit they are capable of making up, and it'll be the top of the order. Kerr, Wilcox, and McCausland due up, all of whom are prime candidates to get them there.
Drake Kerr certainly has the ability to change the game for Matsu, although he doesn't have a hit yet. I don't want to overlook that sac bunt he laid down in the 3rd inning. He did a great job of bringing on a couple of runners to 2nd and 3rd base, and that is definitely not something that can be missed, because then Chase Wilcox delivered an RBI single that was able to score the lone run for Matsu in this game, so that huge sac bunt is something that we cannot look past.
0-1 coming from Gulko. That's flied into right field. Going back on it at the wall and making the catch just shy of the wall was the right fielder Kropnowski. Thought it had a chance for a second, but Kerr will circle back around second and trot back into the dugout. Before we move on, though, I do want to say this is now the 2nd straight game, as you mentioned, where that sac bunt has been extremely important, even when he isn't able to get on base. You know, last night it was advancing Nick Bisaccia to 2nd. This guy, Chase Wilcox, had that double. Bisaccia might not have scored on that hit if he hadn't advanced on that bunt. And the game could have gone a completely different way. Could have been one of those classic sudden death losses the Miners have been used to. Instead, Kerr won it. So we're hoping he'll do more of that later on in this game. Here's Wilcox, who's in a quick 0-2 hole. 2 for 2 so far today with a pair of singles. His hot stretch continues, but his back's up against the wall here. That double last night was on an 0-2 pitch, and he'll fight one off here.
And we heard him say in pregame that he likes to get ready for in-game action by listening to a little bit of rap. He had a Dr. Dre shirt on, and I can certainly respect that. I've been listening to a little bit myself lately, and Chase certainly has an attitude on the field that just screams confidence and readiness for whatever situation is going to come across. Kind of like the music.
I can't say that I have listened to much of his material. Not that I have anything against him, just not the kind of music I typically listen to, but I know he's very good at what he does. That's lifted down the left field line at home run distance, but not in the yard. Foul ball off to the left side. My heart skipped a beat there. A couple of really strong hits going a long ways off of Gulko in the last couple innings.
That's like the 3rd or 4th time we've seen a ball get hit really deep within these last 3 frames. It's
1-2, and this will be a ground ball instead, fielded by the first baseman. Throws on to first, and in time to get the out. Wow, that was a miscommunication as Jacob Hayes left his spot at first, and the pitcher had to sprint on and cover for him, but they were able to make it work, and Wilcox, by a matter of inches, thrown out for the first time today. So it'll be 2 down with Kyle McCausland at the plate.
Yeah, we'll see what Kyle can do. Boy, that was very close for Chase that time. Thought for a second he was going to be able to leg that out because there was a little bit of miscommunication like you talked about between Hayes, Alaika, and Gulko. They were able to shore it up just in the nick of time, but that was very nearly a disaster for Chugiak, and Wilcox was almost on base for the 3rd time.
Kyle McCausland walked his last time up, and he will crush one to deep center field, going back on to Jaden Hill, and it's right at the base of the wall, all the way to the wall. Hill had trouble finding it, and McCausland will stop at 2nd. He's got a double. He breaks out of the 0-for streak that he'd been in. A 2-out rocket off the bat of McCausland, and I got to say, in a lot of other parks, I think at Herman Brothers, that might have cleared the fence. It was right at the base of the wall, and it got stuck there. Jaden Hill had to look for it for a couple seconds, and I thought for a second McCausland might get a triple out of it. He's content with staying in scoring position. He gets out of his slump, and now Christian Perez, if you can break out of yours, the Miners will get one more run here today.
I got to be honest, I'm shocked that was not a home run. You talked about the distance that is in this ballpark. It's 400 at dead center field, and that's exactly where it went. If it had been to left or right, I think that thing would have easily been out of here. Nevertheless, a game-changing, potentially 2-out double.
So here is Perez. He will look at strike 1.
And another deeply hit ball as well in this inning.
I thought that was gone off the bat. You could probably hear it in my voice. I was getting ready to deliver my call and had to ad-lib it at the last moment, but we will certainly take it. Christian Perez, can you capitalize? 0-1 from Gulko, and he'll step off and feign a throw to 2nd instead. McCausland does have wheels. If Perez hits a ball past the infield, there's a chance since McCausland will be running on contact with 2 outs, that he could come around to score.
Yeah, it's all about location and where Perez sets this ball down. If he can get it into fair territory, McCausland will have to watch for that.
0-1 from Golko inside. For the second straight inning, the real only serviceable to good pitcher on this Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks staff is on the ropes.
By the way, that was Kyle McCausland's 8th extra base hit of the season, which is easily the most on the team.
Yeah, 7th double. We needed to see that from him, and nearly got caught with his pants down there, but no one was covering second base, so he gets to see another day.
Yeah, he almost slipped a little bit, it looked like, kind of lost his footing for a second.
Yeah.
Able to get back on his feet, thankfully.
It'll be a 1-1. The tension is palpable here at Lee Jordan Field.
Golko taking a long time.
And Golko just adding to it. That is spoiled by Perez. He's got another 2-strike count. He has struck out twice today. Does not have a hit since the 8th of July, 10 days ago.
Well, cold snaps are certainly meant to be broken. Christian, we know, has that ability inside. We've seen it time and time again this year.
He's going to break it soon, just a question of when.
Could be right now.
It could be. 1-2, Golko again working slow, and that's ripped into right field, past the diving glove, and off the diving glove is Zulaika for a base hit. Rounding third and coming in to score is McCausland, and Perez will end that slump and get the Miners back on the board. A 2-out rally from 2 of the coldest players on the Miners who come through when it matters most. That is what Matsu needs to see.
Well, like a paper at 11:59 for a college assignment, that man was due to get a single, and he did deliver. What a beautiful liner into right field on the ground and off the glove of Louis Zulaika. Perfectly able to put it in and get Kyle McCausland to come home, and all of a sudden Matsu has the game-changing swing they were looking for.
Now it will be Dom Patrizzi, also twice a strikeout victim of Golko. So Frankie got out of that bases loaded jam in the third with just 1 run of damage, but he's not so lucky this time here in the 5th. Dom Patrizzi trying to keep the pain coming. Miners already with 5 hits in this game to go along with 2 runs. That's a big cut by the shortstop, or the second baseman, 1-1.
He's played a little bit of everywhere so far as of late. He's been shortstop, second baseman. Last night he was third baseman for Matsu, so he's kind of been a jack of all trades in the infield for the Miners. Not just this year, but especially here in July.
A 1-1 from the Chinooks ace, misses low. Christian Perez, currently the occupant of first base. Brandon Durand lurking on deck.
And with the way that Matsu is crushing the baseball right now, I don't think Golko wants any part of Brandon Durand. We know what he can do in this ballpark.
2-1, lifts that one out foul. Yeah, this has just been a procession of balls that have been absolutely crushed off of Frankie Golko, even the ones that have been caught, like the fly out by Drake Kerr. Riker Scow had a very deep one in the last inning.
There is action in the Chugiak bullpen as well right now, so this could be Golko's last inning, but time will tell on that end.
2-2. Off the end of the bat, fouled once more. Dom Patrizzi stays alive.
Tom, with 95 at-bats on the team entering this game, that was the most that Matsu has had this season. 20 total hits, 17 RBIs, a .296 on-base percentage. He also has forced 12 walks.
Throw comes on to first. The Miners really needed to see that. They were afraid for a bit that this might devolve into what happened the last time these two teams played, where the Chinooks had that lead and Matsu had to be playing from behind the whole time. That was a gutsy take by Patrizzi to bring the count full. They are still playing from behind, of course, but to get that answer, put that run on the board, get the momentum back on your side,
yes,
especially with how Rocco pitched the bottom half of the previous inning. A good sign for Matsu. Here's a payoff pitch. Runner goes, and spoiled once again. Dom Patrizzi fighting for his life and winning so far.
That double by Kyle McCausland, that may end up being the biggest hit of the game for Matsu if they do come back to win. That hit in that juncture of the game, no understanding how crucial that was to give Matsu some momentum and, most importantly, get them an answer after being down 3-1 and that 3-run barrage by the Chinooks in the bottom half of the third.
Another payoff pitch, comebacker off the glove and right into the glove of Frankie Gulko. An unfortunate bounce, looked like it might roll into the infield, but he's able to recover and throw Patrizzi out to end the inning. But the Miners do get one back. They narrow the deficit to now 3-2 as we are halfway home here in Chugiak. Bottom half of the fifth coming right up with more Rocco Bernardina action you won't want to miss. Matsu Miners Baseball will be right back. Halfway home in Chugiak, Lee Jordan Field, home of the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks, who are clinging to a one-run lead, 3-2 the score, as we are on to the latter half of the action here today. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call, and Rocco Bernardina still on the mound, recovering from that unfortunate third inning where he allowed 3 runs, had a 1-2-3 fourth, and now looking to go one more strong frame. And that will be hit high and deep out to left center field, but Drake Kerr is under it, and he'll make the catch right at the base of the wall. We've seen so many balls that have just barely cleared the fence out there. If there was just even a little bit of wind today, Dylan, this would be a wildly different game.
Oh, we could have probably 5 or 6 home runs in the last few frames with how deep the baseballs have been flying as of late. Thankfully able to stay in the yard and thankfully out to left center. Otherwise, it could have been out of here if it was over the left field to right field wall.
That was Brady Groves who crushed that one. He's now 0 for 2. We're back to the top of the order with Cade Smith. A flyout and a walk today.
And this is the part of the order that's really going to be interesting to watch for Rocco. If you'll remember back in the third, he gave up a walk, RBI single, 2-run RBI single, and another single in these first 4 batters.
1-0, misses low.
This top of the order gave him a lot of issues last time. How does he respond in this moment?
The Wasilla kid, Nolan Murphy, up in the Miners' pen. That's ripped foul down the third base line. Another close call.
Yeah, boy, just barely to the left of the third base bag. A little bit more if it had been fair, and could have easily been an extra base hit. There would have been nobody around it, and it probably would have went towards the bullpen.
That one goes right down the middle. Good recovery there by Bernardina to even up the count 2-2. With Oliver DeGenhart on deck, the man who hit that RBI single a couple innings ago that started the scoring for Chugiak. Smith able to lay off, so it will be a 3-2 count. The crowd here in Chugiak is loud on both sides, but especially for their home team. It has been not the best year the Chinooks have ever had, but the fans still love coming out to this ballpark. Payoff pitch for Bernardina. Did he go around? No, he did not. It will be ball 4. Cade Smith able to hold up, and he draws his second walk of the game on with 1 away.
Yeah, that's only the second walk that Rocco has issued in this game, and it's to the same guy. Cade Smith able to do it twice now, and Rocco, not known as a huge walk guy, he's going to have to find a way to get that under control if he sees Cade Smith again, which is unlikely, but still a guy that's given him trouble today.
Now here is Degenhart, takes a pitch right down the middle. Had that single to score R.J. Rickabaugh in the third. He himself would later come around to score. Now he'll spoil one back out of play. Bernardina trying to dig in and get another relatively clean frame here. The Miners don't want to have to dip too deeply into their bullpen because they'll be seeing a lot more of the Chinooks in the coming day. They've got 2 more games against Chugiak at home tomorrow. This is hit out to right. Coming on is McCausland, but that's going to drop down for a base hit. He could not cover the distance, and Degenhardt had his second single, so more one-out trouble here for Bernardina.
Yeah, dropped that one into right, and McCausland doing what he could to get after it, but there was just no way he was going to be able to make it in time. And once again, this part of the order is really giving Rocco issues. That's Degenhardt's second straight single.
The 5th hit overall for the Chinooks, which is the same count as the Miners. Both Smith and Degenhardt have done so far exactly what they did the last time they were up, and Miners fans hoping that trend does not continue because Jordan Jaffe's last at bat was an RBI single of his own. He takes strike 1.
Yeah, 2-run single that brought the lead to what it is now for Chugiak. And Rocco, I'm sure, with that in the back of his mind, trying to,
That ball gets all the way to the backstop between the legs of Blake Baltz. Down to third base goes the lead runner, Smith, and he'll stay there. So runners will be on second and third with 1 away. Things go from bad to just a little bit worse.
Yeah, that was low, and Baltz did what he could to keep it in front of him. Just couldn't get to that baseball in time, and unfortunately, now you've got 2 runners in scoring position for Chugiak, making this situation all the more hairy for Rocco. We saw Matsu find a way to overcome this last night against the Bucks, and they may have to go back to that well again here.
That is the 3rd passed ball allowed by Blake Baltz. And now a 1-1 coming to the most dangerous hitter in this lineup.
Yeah, this is where Rocco is really going to have to be careful with that fastball. We know what Jordan Jaffe's capable of, especially if it's low and in. Rocco, not really known for that elevated fastball, but he might have to try it here or could attempt that curveball. It's going to be interesting to see what strategy he goes for.
Big 2-strike pitch and finds the zone. Got him looking. Jaffe down on strikes for the 2nd time and a critical 2nd out.
Well, I was saying that he probably wouldn't go for that low fastball, but he did. And, hey, I'm not a pitcher. I'm not a guy who's been in that spot before. Rocco, a guy who understands the situation, put it in perfectly. And Jordan Jaffe caught looking. That is one of the more clutch strikeouts we've seen in this game and exactly what the doctor ordered.
So 2 out now for Louis Zulaika, a grounder and a single so far today. And once again, the exact same pitch that got him the K. That time starts Zulaika off down in the count.
Yeah, a little bit more of a curveball that time from Rocco, and he put it in perfectly, dropped it in the zone, and now giving Zulaika some trouble. He also had a single. He was the last of that big run that the Chinooks went on in the bottom half of the 3rd.
A 1 from Bernardina, cut and miss with the high heat.
Yeah, Zulaika put all he had into that one as well. He was swinging for the fences, kind of lost his balance after the fact. That had some extra special heat from Rocco that time. Let's see if he can get a little bit more sizzle on this steak.
Going for strikeout number 6. Through 5 innings.
This would be a huge turnaround if he could get back-to-back strikeouts to end the inning.
0-2, and that's exactly what he'll do. Swing and miss on a curveball in the dirt. The Chinooks get a pair in scoring position. This time, though, they are not able to capitalize, and if indeed that is the end of Rocco's day, a good end it was. Bernardina rallies from that 3rd inning to lock down the Chinooks in the 2 that follow and keep this a manageable deficit for Matsu. We're on to the 6th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. On to the sixth at Lee Jordan Field. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call as the Mat-Su Miners try to scrap and claw their way to their third straight win. It is indeed the end of Frankie Gulko's evening. He allows 5 hits, 3 walks, and 2 earned runs, 8 strikeouts as well, but he has left the game in a bit more precarious of a position as his team would have liked. And on to protect that narrow lead is the sidearm flamethrower Gavin Alvetti out of the bullpen.
Yep, from Central Arkansas, Searcy, Arkansas is his hometown. 18 1/3 innings pitched on the year, 13 hits given up, 5 earned runs. He's got a 2.45 ERA. He also has 2 saves for Chugiak this year, and he's going to be a big test for this Mat-Su offense, who has brought this game back to within 1 run. They've struggled against him before, but maybe this time things can be different, especially with Brandon Durand making his way to the plate, the generator.
The hulking slugger looking to do a bit of generation. Every run from here on out is the tying one. Durand is 0 for 2, along with the man on deck, Ryan Cochran. Durand with a strikeout and a line out so far today. He had a ball that might have been a hit if Jaden Hill had been a little slower out in center, and he'll sky that one back behind the press box for strike 1.
Gavin Alvetti's last appearance against Mat-Su came on June 30th in that 12-0 loss. Had 2 2/3, gave up 2 earned runs.
1-1 here. Now Durand had that 2 home run game, as we've talked about many times here in Chugiak, but what many of you might not remember is that was in a loss, 11-8. The Chugiaks pulled that one out. Got jammed there and will roll foul. Excuse me. Impressive that Durand even got his bat on that at all. 1-2.
Yeah, for a second I thought that was going to stay fair, and if it had, there was no question that Brandon was on his way to first base. Just stayed away from that third base line, though. Taking a look at our press box. I don't know if he can hear us, but Brandon, we'd like to see a home run if at all possible.
He was the player of the week a couple weeks ago for that performance. We enjoyed our talk with him very much. A 1-2. And he'll crush one into left field, dropping and into the glove of the shortstop, Oliver Dagenhart. That might be one of the most impressive catches we've seen against the Miners all season. And again, Durand, never lucky.
Oh, my goodness. I thought for sure that was going to be a base hit. Dagenhart, you got to give him credit. That was a sensational catch, a highlight reel catch to be sure. He bobbled it, I thought, for a second in his glove, but he was able to bring it down. But, man, what a tough break from Brandon. He just cannot get a lucky break.
This will be a grounder that will roll fair by Ryan Cochran, throwing onto the pitcher for a 1-pitch out. He is now also 0 for 3. So it will once again be the job of Blake Baltz to kickstart this offensive attack with 2 away.
Yeah, Baltz so far already with a walk and a single in this game, so he's reached base both times. He's been up to bat. Had that deep single to right field in the 4th inning. Now we'll see if he can replicate that success in the 6th. And look at that. You can see the UCLA Bruin shin guard on his right leg. If you look closely, it's got the UCLA Bruin wording, or lettering, I should say.
You definitely cannot because of the aspect ratio we're streaming in, but trust us, it's there.
Yeah, you folks can. I can see it.
Yeah. Alvetti's first offering comes in for strike number 1.
Maybe if you super zoom, if you enhance the image, you can find a way to see it.
I don't know if we even have enough pixels for that. But if you can, props to you. 0-1. Good take. Baltz has been the man a couple times that has kick-started a Miners rally.
He scored the lone run for Mat-Su today as well. Chase Wilcox brought him in on that RBI single in the 3rd.
Now down to his last strike. It's a cool day here in Chugiak, but the rain is not appearing as though it will come our way. It looks like the brunt of it has already passed us by. We can see it up on the mountains, but it is through now, and not exactly a clear day, but compared to yesterday, definitely pleasant. A bit warmer as well. Good day for some baseball and a good day for the Miners to start a rally, or not quite yet, as Blake Baltz will strike out for the first time, courtesy of Gavin Alvetti. So it will be a 1-2-3 frame in the 6th, but the Miners still have plenty of chances left. It looks like Rocco Bernardina is coming back onto the mound to pitch his half of the 6th inning. So we'll see how that goes. Mat-Su Miners baseball will be right back after this. Bottom six between the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks and the Matsu Miners. Former having a 3-2 lead in this game, and Rocco Bernardina tasked with protecting the Matsu Miners' chances of reversing that. He'll have Jaden Hill, Jacob Hayes, RJ Rickabaugh, 5, 6, 7. They are a combined 1 for 6 so far today. Coach Steve Hecker, the acting head coach here today, hoping to get one more inning out of his starter and keep the bullpen fresh for the doubleheader tomorrow. Swing and a miss on strike one there is Jaden Hill, who has already struck out once today and also hit a fly ball to center.
That's the interesting thing about this whole series of games coming up too, is that Matsu has to play Chugiak in 3 games over these next 2 days. So they're going to get a lot of each other, a significant share, so to speak.
That bouncing ball will roll foul. 1-2 count. The Chinooks, owners of the last place record in the ABL right now, 2 games back of the Anchorage Glacier Pilots.
Yeah, they've been fighting tooth and nail with the Pilots for a long time to see if they can get into 4th spot in the ABL standings. There's still a lot of baseball left to be played, so...
1-2, ripped fair past the diving glove of the first baseman Perez. It will roll into the glove of McCausland. He thought about going for second, but decided not to, and McCausland would have most likely gunned him down had he tried, so the Chinooks are happy that he chose that option. He's got a leadoff single that is hit number 6 allowed by Bernardina, and you wonder just how long the leash is going to be from Steve Hecker.
Yeah, I'd imagine that if things get too hairy here, another runner gets on base, we may see Rocco get pulled. Nobody knows his pitchers better than Steve Hecker. That's a tough single to give up early on, but great work by Kyle that time just to get after that baseball and make sure that Hill didn't get any further than first base.
That
could have been a lot worse.
Cannon out there by the man out of Middlebury makes runners wary of trying to advance an extra base. Jacob Hayes also 0 for 2, a fly out and a ground out. The first baseman, who has made a couple of nice plays on defense for the Chinooks. He's going to hit a mile-high pop-up into shallow right field. This time McCausland won't have to do anything exciting, just a nice routine pop-up for out number 1.
Yeah, pretty easy pop-up, about as standard as it's going to get, and Kyle able to chase after it. Easy catch, easy out.
Update from elsewhere in the ABL. It is the bottom of the 8th in Mulcahy, and the Bucks still clinging to that 3-2 lead over Peninsula.
Man.
If that result holds, the Miners will be happy, especially if Matsu is not able to complete this comeback.
That game, kind of like ours, coming down to the wire.
Rocco with 1 down, a pitch to RJ Rickabaugh, a single and a ground out today. He was the first run to score for Chugiak, and that is strike 1 to the catcher.
Nice fastball from Rocco that time, a little bit towards the outside part of the zone. Able to paint that corner, get it past RJ Rickabaugh. Get that first strike. Tried that same pitch again and couldn't quite get it in the zone this time.
Yeah, wary of the runner on first as well, but still working relatively quickly. A lot of pitchers on the Miners do that. I was going to slow it down, though. 1-1. Hit into center field, not too deep. Coming on is Kerr, and he won't be able to get there. It thought for a second as though he would be able to get it, but he does get 1 out. That was Jaden Hill, who got caught asleep at the switch. He forgot that he had to get to second base and was not able to get there in time. That was a tricky play because you weren't sure right up until the end whether that ball was going to drop because, of course, if he had gone to second base and it had been caught by Kerr, he probably would have been able to get a double play. But still a great heads-up play by the center fielder to salvage an out of that single by Rickabaugh.
Yeah, you talked about it. Hill was watching it for a while to see where it was going to end up, and it looked as though for a bit that Kerr may be able to make a play on it, but it became clear towards the end that he just was not going to be able to lay out for it. But it ended up working out in his favor because Hill was, like you mentioned, kind of stalled out on the base path and then late had to make the decision to go to second, and it allowed Drake Kerr to throw it on in time. That's a huge out, and that could be another huge game-changing defensive play for Matsu as well.
Yeah, just caught in no man's land. Jaden Hill was there. Not an enviable spot to be in, but you got to pick one in a situation like that. Here's the 0-1, swing and a miss on a low curveball. And it is 0-2 to Sam Kwapniowski, already a strikeout victim once today, also flied out to left as Rocco tries to get through his third straight scoreless inning.
This would be great for Matsu. You can preserve Nolan Murphy until the 7th.
0-2, that one sails high and away. Blake Baltz had to pop up to catch it.
You don't want to put in Nolan in an unadvantageous position, if at all possible. You don't want to have him clean up something. Put him in fresh in the 7th and kind of wipe the slate clean. It would be massive for Matsu.
1-2, just got a piece of it there. Did Kwapniowski, the right fielder.
You talked about that he has struck out already once in this game, that coming in his last at-bat in the 4th.
That is inside. Thought it might be a hit by pitch at first out of the glove of Rocco, so he's brought the count to 2-2.
Yeah, below the knees that time of Kwapniowski. Rocco's going to have to make sure to shore up the fastball a little bit.
Rickabaugh on first, 2 outs. The 2-2 from the righty. And again low.
Man, the second time in a row, and this time it was even more noticeable in how low it was. Bounced off the turf into the glove of Baltz and brings the count full at 3-2. Rocco's going to have to elevate this pitch a little bit. He's not been able to catch Kwapniowski on these low pitches.
Baltz able to keep it in front of him that time. And now a payoff pitch. And a big one at that, and it will just miss. Bernardina preemptively celebrating, but he'll have to face at least one more batter. A 2-out walk to Kwapniowski, the second straight base runner he has allowed, and there will be runners on first and second with 2 outs for the third straight inning, with Brady Groves coming to the plate, and I think this might be the end of Bernardina.
Yeah, Steve Hecker making his way out of the dugout. Nolan is ready over in the bullpen if Steve Hecker wants to make a decision here and bring him in.
No signal yet.
I think he's just going to talk to him probably, just trying to see where Rocco's at, see if he can shore this thing up. The good news for Rocco is that he's got Brady Groves coming up, who has struck out and flied out in this game, and that's it so far.
Although, if you remember back in the 5th, he hit an absolute bomb out to straight center field that was probably a couple feet shy of leaving the yard. So he has seen Bernardina fairly well.
Looks like Hecker's going to leave him in.
I can't say I object to that decision.
All comes down to execution, and right now Rocco has got to focus on the primary objective, just getting that out. Then you can wait into the 7th to bring in Nolan.
1-0 here. Rocco has had 3 1-2-3 innings, and he's also had 3 innings where he's allowed multiple base runners, this being the 3rd. One of those ended in 3 runs. The other ended with 2 men stranded in scoring position, and now Bernardina is really having trouble finding the strike zone.
It almost looks like the exhaustion maybe getting to him just a little bit. He's having issues with elevating that fastball right now. It's just really low and below the zone. He's going to have to find a way to change that.
2-0 and popped him up into foul ground. Looks like he might get bailed out here. Perez backpedaling, and he makes the grab in foul territory for out number 3. Once again, the Chinooks strand a pair, and their lead remains at 1. We're on to the 7th. Matsu with 3 chances left to rally back and tie or take the lead of this game, so don't go anywhere. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. the 7th inning we go, a tight game between your Mat-Su Miners and the Chugiak-Eagle River Chinooks. Mat-Su looking for 3 straight wins, and if they're going to get it, it looks like it is going to be a nail-biter, as the last 2 have been as well. Riker Scow, Drake Kerr, Chase Wilcox, 9-1-2 due up against Gavin Alvetti. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call, as always. Hoping to get to bring you some action here in a late inning rally. This is going to be a comebacker off the mound, fielded by the second baseman, who throws on to first, but it won't be in time. Zuleika had to double clutch, and he did not have a shot at throwing out Scow, so a leadoff single, just what the doctor ordered from Mat-Su.
Yeah, they're going to rule it on the scoreboard as an E4 for the moment. So that's going to be kind of one of those debates that you can have.
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. If he hadn't double clutched that or bobbled it, I'm not sure entirely what happened there, but there was a time between when he got the ball in his glove and when he threw it, and if he had thrown it straight away, he probably would have been able to get the out, so not something I disagree with.
That's a great way to start, though. You've got Riker, one of the best base runners on the team, leading off, and now you got Drake Kerr, who's probably just as good, if not better, at the plate. This
Yep.
could be a heck of a 1-2 punch.
No outs and a man on. There's only one thought on Drake Kerr's mind.
Bunt time, baby.
He's hit a sac bunt already today, which led to a run. Could we see one again? 1-0 pitch from Alvetti. He's showing bunt, and he'll lay one down foul.
That was an odd bounce back off of the bat that time. It kind of went behind him and off of his uniform, it looked like.
I think it might have gone straight down off the plate and then off his bat again.
Yeah.
Chase Wilcox lurking on deck. Grounded out his last time, but 2 singles before that. Would love to have a man in scoring position when he gets there. 1-1, runner goes, and bunt will not be laid down. Throw comes into second, will not be in time. A swiped bag by Riker Scow. That is something he does very well, even among all the speed on this Mat-Su Miners team. And there is a runner in scoring position, even before Drake Kerr's plate appearance has run its course.
8th stolen bag on the year for Riker Scow. One of the best when it comes to recognizing when the opportunity presents itself. He did it perfectly that time, although it was close.
What is going on here?
I think they
What
may be
could
debating
possibly be
whether or
the
not
issue
Scow
here?
got into second, probably.
No, neither coach said anything to the umpires, at least as far as I saw. That looked like he was clearly safe.
I agree.
And he is, okay.
Probably just trying to double check.
You know how I feel about the umpires reversing calls on the field with no replay evidence, something they've done many times at the Miners' expense this season. But this time we are luckily spared from that. It will be a 2-1 count.
I'll cut them a little bit of slack because that was relatively close, but I think it was clear enough that Scow had made it in time.
2-1. Showing bunt again, and that's a pop-up, and it will land fair, and the catcher won't have anything to do with it. I thought at first that might land in the glove of the catcher, R.J. Rickabaugh, but instead it landed right in front of him, and Drake Kerr's got a free base hit out of it.
Well, I've never seen anything quite like that before. I thought for sure that Rickabaugh was going to be able to make the catch, and we kind of have an odd perspective when it comes to that bunt and where the ball lands. I thought Rickabaugh was closer to the baseball than he must have actually been. May have had a chance to lay out for it, but either way, couldn't get it in time. It's one of the odder bunts you'll see, but what a way to get on first base for Drake Kerr, and all of a sudden 2 runners on base for Mat-Su with the best hitter as of late at the plate.
Mr. Clutch, Chase Wilcox, he's going to lay down a bunt. That's going to roll fair. Throwing down is Rickabaugh. A nice stretch by Hayes at first. He will throw him out. So a sac bunt there by Wilcox to advance the runners to second and third. And Kyle McCausland, who crushed a double the last time up, he can not only get the Miners back on the board, but possibly surge them into a lead with a base hit here.
It was that double that led to the Christian Perez RBI single that would bring this game to 3-2. And McCausland now looking to add to it once again. Already 8 extra base hits on the year. Wouldn't mind seeing number 9 right here to bring in a couple runs and give Mat-Su the lead.
Gavin Alvetti on the ropes. 2 runners in scoring position, and none out. His first offering to McCausland swung and missed. Both he and Perez got hits to snap long skids back in that back in that 5th inning, with McCausland coming around to score run number 2.
See Alvetti taking his time here, Really considering what he has to do against McCausland.
The 0-1 hit fair to third base, throwing home for an out, and he will get him. Riker Scow slides in. He's adamant that he was in time and got there safe, but does not appear as though that appeal will be successful. So cut down. That was not a force out. A heads-up play by the third baseman to throw home and save a run. An unfortunate turn of events there. McCausland aboard with a fielder's choice, but it's just got a little bit more difficult here. Christian Perez needs a hit. A sac fly will not do it.
Looks like it's going to be an intentional walk.
Yep, and I suppose with how this game has gone, that does make sense. Don Patrizzi is 0 for 3, so the inning will be in his hands instead.
Yeah, that was very close. We had a great view of it from where we are in the press box. I'm kind of with Riker on that one. I thought he slid in.
The throw definitely beat him, but the slide was close. We did not get a perfect view of it.
And I don't know if you guys could catch it on the broadcast, those of you watching at home, but he did mouth the word wow, as in, wow, I cannot believe that is what ended up happening.
Yeah, maybe not a wow as in, that's a bad call, or wow as in, I can't believe they threw me out.
It was definitely a state of disbelief.
Low pitch, 2-0 to Patrizzi with the bases loaded and 2 outs.
One thing about this ballpark is that you get a closer perspective to the players than any other ballpark in the ABL. Makes things a bit easier to read when it comes to the body language and the way plays end up working out.
2-0 from Gavin Alvetti. And Patrizzi will swing for the fences and come up empty.
Yeah, they're targeting Patrizzi. They believe that, like you talked about, he's been 0 for 3 so far today. They believe this is a prime opportunity. He was also struck out in his first 2 at-bats, those, though, against Golco.
Prove them wrong, Dom. Prove them wrong. 2-1. Inside, and Alvetti is 1 run away from walking, or 1 ball away, I should say, from walking in a run and tying this game. Yeah, goes without saying how important of a moment in this game we are watching right now.
Yeah, and that's the risk of intentionally walking Christian Perez, because now you've got the bases loaded and a run automatically scores. So that decision may be backfiring a little bit for the Chinooks.
3-1 count. Alvetti inside. Ball 4. The Miners have tied it up. The decision to intentionally walk Perez comes back and blows up in the Chinooks' face. And we have a brand new ball game here in the 7th.
And that is Don Patrizzi's 18th RBI of the year, a very unorthodox one, but that'll extend his ABL lead, and what a way to do it, forcing a 2-out walk. And like you talked about, that intentional walk to Perez seems kind of quaint at the time, but boy, is that huge, and all of a sudden, Matsu ties this game up. And Brandon Durand at the plate. This is going to be interesting.
Durand will hit one to the opposite field to second base. Another hard hit ball, nearly thrown away, but the first baseman gets it in his glove to end the inning and leave the bases loaded. But the Miners do get a run. They even this game up 3-3. We've got a brand new game between these two teams. Who is going to pull it out? Matsu certainly hopes that they will. Bottom of the 7th coming right up. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube, and don't go anywhere. We're back to the action on the other side of the stretch. Bottom of the 7th. Matsu has tied this game up at 3, and Rocco Bernardina, day is done. He will have a no decision regardless of how this game ends. 6 hits, also 6 strikeouts, 3 walks, allows 3 runs, but recovered well after that unfortunate 3-run third inning to have 3 straight scoreless frames, leave a lot of Chinooks in scoring position, and give his team a chance to win this game. On in his stead for a number of high-leverage relief innings, Nolan Murphy, Silla's own.
Yeah, making his 6th appearance of the year. He's got 9 strikeouts, 9 2/3 innings pitched, 3.72 ERA. Most of the time, he's been a very solid option out of the pen for Matsu, known for both his curveball and his high fastball, bringing the count to 1-0 here.
Yeah, pitching against the top of the order, and Cade Smith, and that ball is low and away for ball 2. You can argue Nolan Murphy really has just thrown one bad pitch, or at least one very costly pitch this game. That grand slam he allowed his last time out against Luke Stolga of the Glacier Pilots. Now he's down 3-0 to Cade Smith. Other than that, though, he has been solid.
Yeah, all of his earned runs came off of that grand slam. So that's been the lone problem that really we've seen from Nolan Murphy this season. But down 3-0 early here.
He will find the zone there.
By the way, Rocco, with that 6-inning performance, that ties his season high. He's also had a couple of other 6-inning games, so he went a pretty considerable distance today.
Everything Coach Steve Hecker could have asked for. That is going to be a leadoff walk, so not the most ideal start for Nolan Murphy. Smith has now drawn 3 walks in this game to 2 separate pitchers, though, so I don't know. He's just seeing something that the rest of them aren't.
Yeah, Cade Smith has just been really good at staying patient at the plate, and now he's done it to not just Rocco, but Nolan. That's, like you mentioned, 3 combined walks in his last 3 at-bats. And this is going to be a tough test for Nolan. This is the top of the order that has given the Miners so many issues throughout this game.
Oliver Degenhart lays down a bunt. This will be fieldable by Murphy. He will throw on to get the out. The sacrifice by Degenhart moves Smith down to second. We're seeing a lot of bunting by both sides in this game, and I can understand why. A lot of speed on both sides, and each team trying to do whatever they can to eke out what could end up being the winning run.
I love seeing all the bunting in this game. You know, in the major leagues, bunting is almost a lost art form. You just don't see it as much anymore. So the fact that it has such a huge presence in the ABL is always a nice thing to see. Now you've got Cade Smith at second base, and I loved how Nolan fielded that as well. He didn't over-pursue it, didn't panic too much. He put both hands on the baseball as well, made sure it was secured, and then the easy throw to first base. That is how you properly field a bunt.
Jordan Jaffe, with his trademark Star Wars Cantina walk-up song, takes strike 1. Also, I just realized we didn't say the line.
Oh, hang on. I got it. Boogity, boogity, boogity. Let's go pitching, Nolan. There you go.
Edit that one in at the start of the inning.
Thanks for reminding me.
Movie magic, 0-1 from Nolan Murphy, and now he's thrown 2 straight strikes. Whatever he had wrong in his mechanics has been fixed. That leadoff walk, now an 0-2 count here. Jaffe has singled and struck out twice today.
Got a chance for a strikeout here. Rev up the engine and get that K.
Instead, it'll be into center field and nearly caught by Dom Patrizzi. Oh, that was in his glove. He jumped so high, and it went right off his glove. That was still a great play to keep the runner at second base. Otherwise, he would have absolutely advanced to third, if not beyond. So it does deserve a lot of props that he even got a glove on that ball at all. But, man, I thought he had made that catch at first.
What in the world did we just watch? That's one of the highest jumps I've ever seen on a baseball diamond. If he had caught that ball, that would have been the play of the year in the ABL, in my opinion. That was absolutely unbelievable that he even got a glove on it. He was so close to really changing the complexion of this game. But thankfully, he makes sure that nobody advances to third, which could be the biggest thing for Matsu right now.
That will be a single by Jordan Jaffe, and it'll be runners on first and second with 1 out. So Murphy pitching with pressure again. It has been a common theme in this game, and again, dating back to that Bucks game, a lot of runners left on in scoring position, even with the Chinooks having scored 3 in this game on 8 hits. 0-1 from Murphy. On the ground, this could be 2. Cochran flips on to Patrizzi on to first. In time, a nice throw by Perez. He's pumping his fist. He's happy. And another defensive masterclass by the Mat-Su Miners to strand a pair of runners. I think I've said that 3 or 4 times already in my appearance alone. That will be the end of my stint here in this game. It will be Dylan Simmons the rest of the way as the Mat-Su Miners try to get their second straight, or I guess I should say third straight, miraculous 1-run win, as it looks like this game could potentially be trending toward 3-3 the score as we head to the 8th. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube.
Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call with you as always, and we've got a dandy brewing in Chugiak. Your Mat-Su Miners currently tied with the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks by a score of 3 runs to 3 runs. Ryan Cochran to lead off for Mat-Su in this inning after he was part of that inning-ending double play for Mat-Su in the bottom half of the 7th to strand a pair for the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. Now Cochran looking to make a difference offensively as well. Gavin Alvetti still on the mound, fires in an inside pitch, and the count goes to 1-0.
And we were talking in between innings. Obviously, that play by Don Patrizzi, even he didn't make the catch, it was still a very valuable play, but that would have been absolutely astounding if he had come down with that catch. I don't know if I've ever seen, it's great having the view that we have being pretty much at field level because you really get to see how high up he can jump.
Put him in the scouting combine. Swing and a miss by Cochran. Count goes to 2-1. The vertical was just absolutely astonishing. I've never seen a baseball player jump that high. I can honestly say, at least in person.
The Mountain Hawk with wings, and he show it.
Must be a fan of Red Bull. That goes inside for ball number 3, and Cochran now with an opportunity to draw a leadoff walk.
And the Anchorage Bucks did pull that win out. A final score of 3-2. So if the Miners aren't able to pull this one out, they can at least take solace in that.
Oh, hit by pitch. Caught Cochran on the left side of the body. So a leadoff hit by pitch. He's on to first. And like you were just talking about, Charlie, Mat-Su watching the Oilers lose that game in Anchorage, and all of a sudden they can get within half a game of second place with a win tonight.
Yep, that is a big, actually it would be a game out of second place. They're 2 back of the Oilers right now. But with that Saturday game at Herman Brothers Field, I should say, against the Peninsula Oilers, the last time the two teams will meet in the regular season at least, we hope that anyone who can attend that game will, because that might be one of the most important games this entire regular season for Mat-Su.
Yeah, keep an eye on Saturday, July 20th. Swing and a miss by Baltz. Count goes to 0-1. Got my days mixed up. Sometimes you lose track of what day of the week it is when you're having so much fun in Alaska. It is Saturday, July 20th, so tune in on Saturday for sure, as you probably will throughout the rest of the week. We've got a lot more baseball all the way going up until July 22nd, so stay tuned here on the YouTube channel. Baltz lets this one go by, and that's strike 2. Count goes to 0-2 on a looking strike.
And I fibbed when I said it wasn't going to rain earlier because the skies have opened up. A steady drizzle now falling on Lee Jordan Field. This is the second time the Miners have played a rainy game here, and last time they won 12-0, so perhaps a good omen.
Why not add a little extra drama to proceedings? This is outside for ball 1. It's not too bad right now. If it gets any heavier, it could present some bigger issues, but certainly not enough to suspend the game yet. Blake Baltz already has a single in this game, also forced a walk. Those were in his first 2 at-bats. That's outside for ball 2. He struck out swinging in his last at-bat in the 6th, trying to redeem himself right here and get on base for the 3rd time today.
Alvetti has only issued 1 walk so far, but it was perhaps the most costly walk he has issued all season.
Rain really starting to come down now. 2-2 count. Here is a liner into right field for a base hit. It got past the diving first baseman Jacob Hayes, and Matsu with 2 runners aboard now. A clutch second hit of the day for Blake Baltz.
Yeah, he has been the spark plug all night long. There when you need it to spark a rally. I thought Ryan Cochran might try to round second and go for third there, but he elected to stay at second base and hoping that Riker Scow can give him a ride home.
Infield is, or actually there's going to be a meeting on the mound for the Chinooks here.
And I understand why. I don't know if they've got a new pitcher coming in. It does not appear as though they do.
There's not a lot of action in the bullpen at the moment, although there are some people over there, probably just trying to make sure that Alvetti doesn't let this slip away any more than it already has.
The Miners do get a power-up when it rains. We have demonstrated that to be true. 12-0 win over Chugiak here during that rainy game. And then, of course, last night, that 1-0 extra innings win.
It's like spinach to Popeye for Matsu anytime they get out in the rain. And now with Riker Scow coming on in the top of the order soon to pass for Matsu, this could be the point in the game where they really start to take over.
And I do wonder if the Chinooks might behoove them a bit to slow down a little bit, maybe because this rain has really picked up. I don't know how large this storm is. I don't have a radar app open in front of me, but it does look like there's only more coming in through that gap in the mountains off to the right side, just on the edge of your screen. If this game were to be deemed too wet to play, it would be suspended and played at a later date, and the Chinooks would get to replenish their bullpen a bit. Just some food for thought.
Matsu certainly doesn't want that, as Scow will foul that off. Count goes to 0-1. He almost scored a run for Matsu in the 7th inning, although he was taken out on a throw late that prevented him from scoring.
Yeah, that could potentially be the deciding moment of this game, although the Miners certainly threatening here.
0-1 count. And Alvetti having to deal with the rainy conditions. Bunt laid down by Scow along the third base line. Here's the throw to first, and it is in time to take care of Scow, but it advances Cochran on to third, and Matsu now with 2 runners in scoring position as well.
That's the 3rd sack bunt laid down by the Miners today, and they've all been successful. 2nd and 3rd, 1 out, as the rain continues to fall with this very dangerous top of the order. Drake Kerr had a single in the 7th on that weird bunt pop-up that landed right in between the catcher and the pitcher. He came around to score the tying run. Can he be the hero again?
Drake Kerr, the recently married man, with 1 out. Swing and a miss here. Count goes to 0-1. He had that odd single in the top half of the 7th inning in his last at-bat. And now trying to make a difference once again. Baltz at second. Cochran at third. 0-1 count. Kerr lets it go by. That's a strike. Count's going to be 0-2. Can't bunt here, especially with Cochran at third base. So
yeah, bunting with the bases loaded is just asking for a double play, even with a man like Kerr. With that force out at home, kind of defeats the whole point.
So he's going to have to hope for a shot into the outfield. The 0-2 is in the zone for a strikeout. Kerr caught looking, and I don't think he agreed with the call, but he has to go back to the dugout. Now 2 away, and that was an untimely K for Matsu.
Yeah, that was in the zone. That was an unfortunate pitch to take there by Drake Kerr, making this a little bit more dire, but one good news. Look at who's at the plate now.
Here comes Wilcox. He's been the prime suspect for Matsu as of late. RBI single already in this game, another single as well. That came in his first 2 at-bats. Time's going to be called, as it looks like we'll see the catcher, Rickabaugh, head to the mound to talk to Gavin Alvetti.
There's more action in the Matsu pen, so I'm wondering if Murphy might have only been on as a setup man in the 7th.
What's at stake in this game for Matsu? They can win their 3rd consecutive, win 3 on the road in a row for the first time this season. get to 15-13 and beat Chugiak for the first time in over 2 weeks. They haven't played Chugiak in over 2 weeks, so they really haven't had a chance to get their revenge after that 11-7 loss back on July 2nd. But now the opportunity is there. Wilcox will foul this one towards the Chugiak dugout. Count goes to 0-1.
Miners with 7 hits, 3 runs to show for it. The Chinooks just ahead of them with 8. This has been a bit of a return to form for the offense. They've come through when it's mattered most. Most runs they've scored in the last 9 games. They have not scored more than 3 runs since July 4th.
They can change all of that right here with one swing of the bat from Chase Wilcox, who is looking to keep his red-hot momentum alive. 1-1 count. That is inside at the knees of Wilcox for ball 2.
Rickabaugh quite possibly just saved the game right there.
Yeah, he did, because that one was heading towards the backstop, heading right towards us, and that could have easily scored Cochran. He's at third, Balt is at second. 2-1 count with 2 outs. Huge turning point in the game. Another low pitch for ball 3. Good take by Wilcox, and didn't have to worry too much about it. Now a 3-1 count.
And you don't want, if you're the Chinooks, you don't want to walk him here because Kyle McCausland lurking on deck has shown himself to be dangerous already.
Now Wilcox facing the 3-1. And that's ball 4. Wilcox on to first. And the bases are loaded for Matsu with 2 outs. Not the first time we've seen it today. And look who's coming up. Kyle McCausland, the extra base king for the Matsu Miners. 8 total on the season. Already has a double in this game and maybe getting ready for another one.
Yeah, this is another big moment here for Matsu. They've left a lot of men on. They've left the bases loaded twice, but they have gotten runs out of all these situations where they've had pitchers on the ropes. And McCausland can blow this game open a little bit with a solid hit.
And
uh-oh.
You see Rickabaugh is in some pain after that foul ball by McCausland. Grasping a little bit at his leg, it looked like.
Oh, God. I thought for a second, I thought McCausland got him on the backswing and hit him like in the neck with his bat. That was what I thought he was grabbing at, which is why that was scary for a second, but it looks like he's okay.
Good to see Rickabaugh up and going once again. Kyle McCausland with a 1-for-3 day so far. Also has walked in this game. That coming in his second at-bat.
And he reached on a fielder's choice as well.
That is fouled towards the Chugiak dugout. Count goes to 0-2, and like you mentioned, reached on a fielder's choice in the 7th. 2 outs in this spot, making it all the more important for Matsu to score runs now. They may not get another opportunity like this before the 9th inning comes along.
Come on, Kyle.
Kyle McCausland with the 0-2. Chopper left side, that's going to be thrown on to second for the final out. So McCausland grounds out. Jordan Jaffe answers the call, and Matsu leaves the bases loaded. And again, the score will remain 3-3. Miners still are going to have to find more in the tank to win this game. We'll be right back for the bottom half of the 8th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. welcome back to Lee Jordan Field in Chugiak, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call. And we got another dramatic one late, folks. Mat-Su tied 3-3 with the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks. Nolan Murphy still on the mound for his second inning of work. He'll be taking on Jaden Hill to lead off, followed by Jacob Hayes and R.J. Rickabaugh. 5-6-7 for the Chinooks.
Pitching coach Steve Hecker believes in the locally grown talent. He did not have the smoothest inning back in the 7th, a leadoff walk and a single by Jaffe, but that nice little double play bailed him out. And hoping to validate that trust with a clean frame here, and I assume they'll have Drew Kennan warming up to pitch the 9th. All the more so if the Miners are able to take the lead in the 9th.
Count quickly goes to 2-0 here. Murphy faced a 3-0 count earlier, got out of it. This is foul back. Count goes to 2-1 as it rattles off of the cage. Rattle the cage, as Dale Earnhardt Sr. once said. No one would appreciate that reference. 2-1 count, and Nolan Murphy trying to intimidate Jaden Hill. The 2-1. Curveball is just outside for ball 3.
Hill with a single, a flyout, and a strikeout. Those all courtesy of Rocco Bernardina.
Now Murphy down 3-1. Fastball is lifted into left field. Scow is back. He will stop and make the catch. Not too hard for Riker Scow. Had to move just a little bit, but able to get to it, one away.
Well, but with the rain coming down as it has lightened up a little bit, but still a steady drizzle here. Those catches that look routine become just a little bit less so.
And Charlie, there's your rally seagull flying across the outfield.
He's been flying around, circling the field rather ominously, actually, for the last couple innings.
Hopefully it's ominous for Chugiak. That is a breaking ball that is just outside for ball 1. Jacob Hayes to the plate. He's flown out twice and grounded out once. At-bats in the 2nd, 4th, and 6th innings. 1-0 count, swing and a miss. Tried to dig deep to get that one, and Nolan Murphy having none of it, bringing it to a 1-1 count.
Now Murphy pitching in front wherever he goes. He is in familiar territory from the Mat-Su Valley, Wasilla. High school legend.
Here is a ground ball fouled into the chain link fence. Count goes to 1-2. Grew up watching the Mat-Su Miners in Alaska Baseball League action, and probably thought, hey, I want to be on Mat-Su one day, and here he is pitching for the team that he watched growing up. That's got to be a surreal experience for him. Always enjoy having a conversation, hearing that perspective. This is another foul ball. He's taught me a lot of great things about Alaska and the geography, the lifestyle, how people live out here. It's been really fun to hear from him and really fun to watch him on the mound.
He also just had a friend of his drafted to the major leagues, Cohen Nikolai out of Anchorage, picked by the Marlins in the 15th round over the weekend.
1-2 count. This is fouled back once again by Hayes. So if you don't know the Alaska high school baseball scene, folks, it's legit.
He was talking to us that Nikolai used to be a bullpen catcher for him. Of course, he's a number of years behind Murphy in school, but they knew each other, and Nikolai won the Gatorade Baseball Player in Alaska.
Fly ball deep into center field. Kerr is back, and this one is it actually stays in the yard. And throwing on to second now is Kerr. Thought for a second that ball bounced off the scoreboard. It's going to be a double for Jacob Hayes.
I thought that was gone too. I just trailed off because off the bat it looked gone, and then there's that white advertisement out there that it blended in with. I thought that it went over the fence, but just barely. I think that might have gone off just off the top of the wall, literally inches away from being a home run.
Yeah, you'll have to apologize, or I'll have to apologize, folks. I thought it actually banged off the scoreboard.
I would have made that mistake too, and it looks like Steve Hecker has seen enough.
Yeah, Steve Hecker making his way out of the Mat-Su dugout to talk to Nolan Murphy. So a bizarre double for Jacob Hayes, and he's going to hand the ball over.
Yep.
Nolan Murphy's day is done. Not a bad day of work, although obviously the double not ideal. He will wait as a new pitcher makes his way to the mound, and it looks like that's Ashton Johnson.
Ashton Johnson. I wonder if this might be a 4-out save opportunity, hoping that the Miners can take the lead in the 9th. Ashton Johnson will take the bump in Nolan Murphy's stead, making just his 5th appearance of the season, a seldom used reliever, but he has been solid, a 4.50 ERA in just 4 innings of work, has allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs, and 5 strikeouts. Has not seen action lately, but this is a big chance for him to remind Steve Hecker and the Miners fans that he is on this staff for a reason, the best staff in the ABL, and he will carry that torch with a lot riding on it.
The Salt Lake City, Utah resident plays for the College of Southern Idaho. He played at Olympus High School once upon a time. He was the number 6 southpaw in Utah coming out of high school.
On his way to BYU as well.
That is correct. He will soon be playing for Brigham Young. He had a season-high 7 1/3 innings pitched against Utah State Eastern back on May 10th, and soon-to-be teammate to Riker Scow. Coming in the bottom half of the 8th inning, he will inherit a runner on second in Jacob Hayes on that bizarre double that your guys swore went off the scoreboard, but obviously my eyes might be failing me in my old age of 20 years old. And like the rest of my family, I may have to get some glasses soon.
Apologies for talking over you there.
All good.
I do see the rationale for this, too. The left-hander with Rickabaugh and Kwapniowski, a pair of lefties due up. Hecker playing the percentages here, as Mr. Burns on The Simpsons would say.
Mr. Burns. I haven't heard that name in a while, as R.J. Rickabaugh will be the first man that we'll see Ashton Johnson face.
Famously undefeated in his 1 season of his managerial career.
I'm going to have to catch up on that. Rickabaugh did have a single in his last at-bat, and also has another single that he inherited in the 3rd inning. He's also scored a run for the Chinooks in this game, grounded out in the 4th, and now coming on for his 4th at-bat of today.
I'm still trying to wrap my head around the fact that that was not a home run. I think you are too. We're both reeling from that.
Yeah,
I had already resigned myself to the fact that he had just given the Chinooks a lead, but the Miners get another lease on life, and Ashton Johnson's going to try and deliver on that.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm a little discombobulated after watching that baseball, I swore, go over the wall and clang off the scoreboard, but that's not what happened. So, at least according to the umpires, that'll bring on R.J. Rickabaugh.
And you know what it is again? I think it's the rain. I think
rain
if that had
probably
been
didn't
hit
help, yes.
about a half hour ago, that might have been a home run.
Very well didn't help matters, but Matsu's certainly going to take it now. The southpaw Johnson on. This is a chopper right side fouled. Count goes to 0-1 for Rickabaugh, and you hear both dugouts very vocal right now, trying to will their teams to stay in this game. We saw Matsu's dugout have that emotional reaction to the win yesterday on the Chase Wilcox walk-off double, and now they are trying to will Ashton Johnson in this defense. 0-1 curveball is low for ball 1.
Just missed the zone on that. Tried to get Rickabaugh to chase. I respect what he went for. There is still activity over in the pen. I believe that's Nico Tomasello up and throwing. Potentially as a right-handed pitcher to put in if this inning keeps going.
1-1, curveball from Johnson, this time inside. Ball 2.
Couple of near misses there.
You talked about it with Johnson. He has a total of 5 strikeouts entering this game in 4 innings pitched, or rather, yes, 4 innings pitched and 4 appearances. Giving up 2 earned runs. Facing a 2-1 count. And this one's outside, ball 3.
Cannot buy a strike on a few pitches trying to dot the corners of the zone, but R.J. Rickabaugh not chasing to his credit. Already with a 2-hit day.
3-1 count. Pitch by Johnson, fouled off. That's a needed foul ball. Count's going to go full at 3-2. Chance for Johnson to get a strikeout in his first at-bat on the bump.
This is reminiscent of Ryan Harrihill here, I think, what we saw last night. He came into the game in a tough spot and got the Miners out of it.
Payoff pitch, and another foul ball by Rickabaugh, who has given Matsu a lot of trouble today, both in his spot on defense as the catcher and at the plate. He has helped keep the Chinooks in this game, and right now Ashton Johnson trying to negate that impact. We'll try the payoff pitch again. 3-2 runner on second is Jacob Hayes. Here we go. Pitch on the way from the southpaw. This is popped up into shallow left field. Should be easy. Scow is right there. He will make the catch for Matsu for a big second out, and that one was needed.
That was quite possibly either that or a strikeout, the best possible outcome that Ashton Johnson could have asked for. A fly out to the left side of the field, so Hayes does not have a chance to advance. And a critical second man retired. Kwapnowski again, another left-handed batter. No pinch hitters from the manager on the side of Chugiak, so it will be in his hands. A walk, a fly out, and a strikeout today for the right fielder.
Yeah, Timothy Cole deciding to keep the pinch hitters away, save them for a rainy day. That could be today also, since it's also a rainy day. We'll see if that transpires in the bottom of the ninth. High pitch by Johnson, count goes to 1-0. Sam Kwapnowski is forced to walk. He struck out and flied out in this game. 0 for 2 so far. Facing a 1-0 right here. Hayes in scoring position. Matsu trying to keep him there. Curveball, got it. Strike brings it to a 1-1 count. Great work by Ashton Johnson. So far, so good for the Idaho man.
The rain has tapered off. It does appear as though it is no longer falling, or at least not quite as hard. More of a mist now.
Johnson takes a deep breath, fires in a pitch. It's low, and it's ball 2. Tried to fit it in towards the knees of Sam Kwapnowski that time. Count at 2-1.
Trying to see, I'm not sure, because there's drips coming down from the top. I don't know. Either way, it has definitely slowed down, and that's going to help Johnson a lot.
That it will. Helps him retain his command a little bit better and be a little bit more confident in his pitches. Breaking ball, got it. That's a 2-2 count. Put it in the zone perfectly, and he's got a chance for an inning-ending strikeout.
And the crowd here in Chugiak hanging on to every pitch, Miners and Chinooks fans alike.
And that substitution by Steve Hecker on the mound at this point in the 8th, looking masterful at the moment. Johnson trying to validate that decision with a strikeout right here. Here's the 2-2. Got him! Ashton Johnson with the inning-ending K on Sam Kwapnowski, and they'll leave a runner on second in Jacob Hayes. Chugiak once again denied, and Matsu keeps the game tied at 3 runs apiece. We're on to the top half of the 9th inning. Buckle your seatbelts, folks. This game is just getting started. We'll be right back. You're watching Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Chugiak, Alaska, coming off of the jump here in Chugiak. Christian Perez to the plate for Matsu. What's the name of that song? I just lost it. I was going to say
Jump Around.
Jump Around, yes. They play that at the Wisconsin Badgers games. As Perez is on to the plate. Top half of the 9th, Matsu tied with Chinooks at 3 runs apiece. Gavin Alvetti still on the mound. This pitch comes inside for ball 1.
And Alvetti has labored now in each of the last 2 innings. He came very close to allowing a run in the 8th. He did allow a run in the 7th. So it's interesting decision on the part of Tim Cole.
Yeah, he's putting confidence in Alvetti. We saw head coach or acting head coach Steve Hecker do something similar in this game with Rocco Bernardina, kept him in for a while, and that decision was validated. 2-0 count. Perez will chop this one, and it is going to be a foul ball.
Yeah, it bounced off the plate. That was clear. I don't know why they let it roll for that long, but it clearly made the sound of bouncing off the plate. We've seen umpires miss that already this season, but luckily the home plate umpire today noticed. As Perez was confused, he didn't even run because he saw it.
I think it may have also went off of Perez at some point, although I can't verify that. Count goes to 2-1 either way. It looked like it was a pretty clear foul ball. Here's a liner that gets into left field for a base hit. Christian Perez is going to have a leadoff single for Matsu.
Man, has he come back to life now. 2 hits already along with that intentional walk, which obviously wasn't his choice, but just the sheer threat of him causing the Chinooks to make that blunder by putting him on base and putting the pitcher on the mound in position to walk a run in. He has really made his mark on this game, and the Miners love to see that.
Perez represents the leading run for the Miners. Currently at first base, Dom Patrizzi at the plate. He's showing bunt. He lays one down. This is going to be fair. Throw to first is going to be in time. Rickabaugh able to recover, but it does the job and advances Perez onto second.
And that is 5, count them, 5 sacrifice bunts, and every single one by a different member of this lineup. Everyone on this team is on the same page. They clearly practice that a lot. They're using it to perfection here, and the Chinooks just have not found a way to beat it yet.
Pinch runner here. Nick Bisaccia is going to go over to second base and take the spot of Christian Perez. So now Bisaccia represents the winning run. And with his speed, we know that he can certainly fly to home plate. He's in scoring position. He was the winning run last night in that Chase Wilcox RBI double against the Bucks. Pitch by Alvetti. This is Durand, and he puts this one into right field. It gets past the first baseman Hayes. Bisaccia is going to stop at third. Durand's got a single, and Matsu has runners in the corners with one out. A clutch hit from a guy who had been so unlucky today. Finally, Lady Luck yields a good hand to Durand.
We were just, I talked over that call. That was so good. Sorry. We were just talking between innings. Brandon Durand came into that at-bat being 0 for 4, but he really was a couple lucky breaks away from being 3 for 4 at least. And now he finally gets a hit. Not always on time, but always when you call.
When the moment was at its biggest, Brandon Durand delivering. The generator doing what he does best as Ryan Cochran shows bunt. That's going to be a strike. It got past him. Count goes to 0-1. And you can hear the dugouts are fired up.
I feel bad. That was such a nice little line there.
All good. It was spur of the moment. That is going to be ball 1. Count goes to 1-1. And you can hear that it's as loud as it's been all night on both sides. They understand the magnitude of this moment.
Cochran 0 for 3 has been hit by a pitch, was stranded on third back in the 8th.
Another bunt shown, and this time it's outside, and Rickabaugh saved the leading run coming in for Matsu.
And again, back to what we were saying before, I mean, Gavin Alvetti clearly is just laboring. He's been laboring for 2 innings now and is on the verge of going off the rails completely here.
Immediate action in the Chugiak bullpen. Inside pitch, and that gets in for a strike. Count goes to 2-2, and Matsu fans are not agreeing with that call. The ones who have made the journey down to Chugiak, and Cochran didn't agree either.
Yeah, Cochran had some words. He was gesturing to his bat as if to say, this almost hit me.
2-2 count. Cochran, not usually that type of guy, but definitely fired up. That's low for ball 3. And we have an enormous payoff pitch on the way.
And Blake Baltz due up with the bases loaded. Imagine the havoc he could wreak.
Here we go, 3-2. Bisaccia at third. Durand at first. Payoff pitch. Here's a chopper that's fouled. It goes right towards Ronnie Deck, the third base coach for Matsu, who is keeping an eye on Bisaccia. Trying to see if Matsu can bring in what would be the leading run in this game. And potentially the winning run. The 3-2. Cochran watches that come inside for ball 4. He's on to first base. Bases loaded for the Miners with one out. A clutch walk forced by Ryan Cochran.
He's issued 3 now, Gavin Alvetti has, and all of them have been arguably at the worst possible time. This is just going to be a simple mound conference. I can't help but wonder if the Chinooks might be using a similar strategy where they're saving their bullpen for the doubleheader tomorrow, because there is not even anyone sitting down over there on the left side of the field where that bullpen is. They are riding it out with Gavin Alvetti, just hoping that he can weasel his way out of this jam, but with Blake Baltz and Riker Scow, both of who have made it on base so far today, things are looking grim in that department. Mat-Su can feel it. They just need one more push.
Mat-Su is down 3-1 in the 5th inning. Now they have a chance to take their first lead in a good bit. Pitch on the way to Baltz. It's outside for ball 1. Good take by number 5, who already has 2 singles in this game and has forced a walk, 1 for 3 so far, or 2 for 3 rather.
Any ball that leaves the infield will give the Miners the lead with Nick Bisaccia, the speedster pinch runner at third.
Pitch by Alvetti, sidearms it and put it in the zone. Count goes to 1-1. Baltz let it go by.
Bisaccia hoping he'll get a chance to score the winning run for the second straight game. Wouldn't be a walk-off, but he would take it.
It would almost be a walk-off considering what we've seen from the Chinooks. As of late, they have just not been able to put a run on the board. Baltz fouls this one up and over the cage. Count goes to 1-2. Chugiak has had a lot of opportunities to put runs on the scoreboard, but has never been able to bring it home, leaving many runners stranded on base, so Baltz could potentially almost have a game ender here.
Anything other than a ground out, obviously that would be the catastrophic turn of events, worst case scenario. Even a strikeout obviously wouldn't be ideal, but it wouldn't be the worst thing.
Can Baltz have a 3-for-4 day right here? 1-2 pitch. Baltz with a ground ball to third. Throw to second is going to be in time. Throw to first will not be in time, and a run scores for the Miners. Bisaccia comes home. Mat-Su has the lead. RBI for Blake Baltz at the biggest point in the game.
Look at the legs on that catcher running out that double play and keeping the Miners inning alive. Baltz single-handedly preventing the Chinooks from ending that threat. I thought for a second I had spoken it into existence, but they couldn't turn it. Baltz outran it, and the Miners have the lead for the first time today.
Baltz able to leg it out at the biggest of moments, and Mat-Su has taken the lead as Riker Scow makes his way to the plate with 2 outs. Mat-Su with runners in the corners. Scow with a chopper that is going to be fouled to the left of the third base bag. How about this day for Blake Baltz? That is his 4th time reaching base, and he delivers one of the biggest RBIs of the season.
And I misspoke there. The Miners did score the first run of this game in the top half of that 3rd inning, but it was a short-lived lead, hopefully unlike this one.
Riker Scow trying to add to the lead. Fastball is outside for ball 1.
And like you said, now this is where the Miners have a chance to pile on, get an insurance run that could do wonders with how far the ball is carried here tonight.
Riker Scow has flown one out into the outfield already. If he could get something like that here and get it down, could definitely help as the count goes to 1-2. Durand is at third, in prime position to come home, but Scow is trying to send him there. He's going to have to find a way. 1-2 count. This is another ground ball to the left of the third base bag. It goes, fouled once again, and Scow came down awkwardly.
And they fouled that one right off his shin or his ankle somewhere. They're just going to walk this one off. Looked like he was okay.
That's good to see. Always kind of takes your breath when you see a player go down for a moment. Glad to see Scow upright. Looking for a little bit of redemption. Remember, he had a run that was taken off the scoreboard when he came in and Chugiak took him out at home plate. Facing a 1-2 here and another ground ball fouled. Kind of the same thing we just saw. Count's going to stay at 1-2. It wasn't actually on the board, but I think Riker Scow thought it was about to be.
Gavin Alvetti just dodged a bullet right there. That ball was right down the middle. And I thought, as soon as I saw Scow swinging, I thought he could take that a long way.
And that's strike 3. Caught Riker Scow looking and leaves 2 runners stranded on base, but the Miners do the most important thing. They bring a run in. Blake Baltz, the Hollywood man, helping to develop the movie script for Mat-Su in the top of the 9th inning. 4-3 lead. The Miners are going to try to bring it home in the bottom of the 9th. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. If you're just joining us, folks, well, I got to ask, where have you been? This has been a dramatic one, as have the last 3 games for the Miners. They're up 1 run in the top half of the 9th inning. A familiar scene, and now they're trying to bring it home with the man on the mound, Drew Kennan, no stranger to this situation.
Drew Kennan out of Dartmouth, the chess master, the closer for this squad, an avid player of chess, frequently brags about it and plays with other members of the team, but he is the best among them. And you know what also he's the best at is closing out games for the Matsu Miners. He's looking for save number 4, 0.00 ERA this season, has allowed just 4 hits, no earned runs, and 10 Ks in 11 innings of work, primarily as the closer for Matsu. He'll have 9-1-2 due up in his quest to get Matsu its 3rd straight 1-run win.
Like you mentioned, he is not allowed an earned run this year for the Miners, and right now he's trying to keep that streak going. He will face off against Brady Groves, Cade Smith, and Oliver Dagenhart, barring any pinch hitters by the Chinooks. But starting off, Groves will be the man. Let's see what Kennan's got in store. And as Charlie called him, the chess master watches that one go to the inside for ball 1 on the curve.
Yeah, we've workshopped the nickname a bit. Closer with a K. I like it because he strikes out, and also his last name starts with K, but chess master just has a bit more prestige to it, you know?
If you walk into the clubhouse, you can see Kennan playing chess every now and then, challenging the best that the Miners have to offer. Count goes to 2-0 here on this inside curve.
This is appearance number 11 for Kennan this season, and not had the best of starts, only 3 walks in those 11 innings, but he'll have to get his control going here.
High fastball to make it a 3-0 count. This time he put it in the zone perfect. No, he did not.
Okay.
They called that ball 4, and
sure, man.
I am astonished on that call. And I think Kennan may be a little bit too. That's one of the stranger ones I've seen made tonight, but I guess the home plate umpire saw something that we didn't.
Yeah, that's not exactly an explicable call there. Hopefully that will not come back to bite the Miners, because now the winning run is at the plate, Cade Smith.
And this is the top of the order, which has been the most significant part for the Chinooks tonight. They have been very, very solid against the Miners. Count goes to 1-0. That's 5 straight balls from Drew Kennan. Cade Smith has forced 3 consecutive walks against the Miners. Kennan is going to have to be aware of that. Try to make sure to avoid it. Fastball this time perfectly placed in, and no dispute from the home plate umpire. Count goes to 1-1.
I was going to say, if that last pitch wasn't a strike, then I don't think he could find the strike zone no matter how on point he is, but
Kennan the pitch, and that's low in the turf, and Blake Baltz with a clutch job to keep that baseball in front of him. Count goes to 2-1. That would have easily sent Groves on to second. Instead, the 2-1 count now to the designated hitter, Cade Smith. Fastball's high for ball 3. All of a sudden, Drew Kennan struggling a little bit with his command.
We are in check, to coin the phrase.
Kennan with the 3-1. Intensity ramping up. Swing and a miss. Count goes full.
Absolutely massive there. A high fastball would have been ball 4, but that's just the trick. Looks like it's going to drop, and it doesn't. Kennan with some of the highest velocity on the team, and he shows it there.
Payoff pitch. Swing and a miss. He got him. Drew Kennan with an immense strikeout to start things off in the bottom half of the 9th. After issuing the walk to Groves, Kennan responds.
Now I can call him the closer with a K. Number 1, the first out for him, and a big one with Oliver Dagenhart coming up. He's also got a pair of singles today and a sac bunt as well. You wonder if he might try that here.
Kennan, curveball, ball 1. Too far to the outside that time. Dagenhart laid down a sac bunt in his last at-bat. He has a single and actually 2 singles in this game, an RBI single and a regular single in his 3rd at-bat. He also flew out to center in his first at-bat. And there's a strike, 1-1. Great fastball from Kennan.
Dagenhart and then Jordan Jaffe. So both of these two with multi-hit days today. Kennan will have to earn it. Tomasello still loosening in the bullpen just in case, but
1-1. That is low, and Baltz almost had to backpedal to make the catch. Did a great job once again of just keeping it in front of him. not allowing Groves with an opportunity to move on to second.
Yeah, with the velocity as high as Kennan's, any little bit of movement is going to be really exacerbated. So if you don't have it totally under control, you'll see pitches like that.
2-1, swing and a miss. Great high fastball from Kennan. Count goes to 2-2.
And when you do have it under control, you see pitches like that. The Drew Kennan experience in 2 throws.
Now Kennan with a chance at his second straight K. Bring out number 2 in the bottom of the 9th. He got him. Strikeout number 2 for Kennan. This time he takes care of Degenhart. The top 2 men in the order have been retired for the Chinooks. That sends on Jordan Jaffe as the Chinooks prepare for their last stand.
Strikeout number 9 in total for the Mat-Su Miners. And they're 1 K away from another improbable win.
Jaffe at the plate. Curveball is going to be ball 1. Again, away from the zone. The tying run is at first base for the Chinooks. It's Brady Groves. Count is 1-0. Pitch by Kennan. Swing and a miss. Great high fastball once again. He has been using that pitch time and time again, and the Chinooks have had nothing for it.
And Jaffe is probably the guy the Chinooks want at the plate.
This is a fly ball towards right. It's going to be fouled, and the count will go to 1-2.
Because he can do things like that. 2 home runs on the year, as well as 2 triples, 7 doubles. He hits the ball a long way. But he's 1 swing and a miss away from that not mattering.
1-2 pitch on the way from the chess master. Here's a bouncing ball to short. Picked up. Cochran goes on to second, and that ends the game. The Mat-Su Miners defeat the Chugiak-Eagle Chinooks by a final score of 4-3. They have won 3 consecutive games on the road for the first time this season. They are 15-13 on the year, and they are making a heck of a push for second place in the ABL standings. What a clutch win by the Miners tonight.
When Mat-Su was winning games 10-0, 12-0, 10-4, we thought they were as hot as they could possibly get. I'm going to tell you something, Dylan. This team is hotter now than it was then. They are pulling these games out when, especially last night, at certain points today, you thought they were done. They were dead. They had no chance. They find a way. They get the hits when it matters most. And at the end of the day, they're left standing. Every team in Mat-Su, or I should say every team in the Alaska Baseball League, sees this result, sees what happened last night, and they are on notice. You cannot play the Mat-Su Miners in a close game. The days of losing 4 out of 5 in Kenai are behind them. This team is clutch.
And if you'll remember, they were coming off a 4-game losing streak heading into this stretch, starting off with the Anchorage Bucks on Monday. They have responded with 3 consecutive wins. And this team has been on clutch street for the last few games, finding their way to another 1-run victory, their 3rd consecutive, and all of them on the road. This Miners team, too legit to quit. That's going to do it tonight from Lee Jordan Field. What another sensational baseball game it was. For Charlie Fillows and our entire incredible staff with the Mat-Su Miners,